Salam Sejahtera and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Industry Roundtable Forum and soft launch of ARCHIDEX Online, held in conjunction with World Architecture Day, which falls today, 4th October 2021. I hope all of you are keeping well and staying safe. We are in for an insightful afternoon today with 5 distinguished speakers with us. Thank you, speakers, for taking the time to be with us today. Before I start the session, could I have the audience testing the comment box for the live stream of this event on your respective Facebook account? Tell us with a simple yes or no if you and your loved ones have gone out dining since the restrictions of movement has been eased recently. I have, and it felt so good. Are you looking forward to the cinema's opening? I'm especially looking forward to catching the latest Bond movie, No Time to Die. It is definitely the time to put aside Netflix and look forward to a large screen with a large carton of popcorn, of course. It is definitely a great time to be in. Please do let us know in the comment box, audience. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin the session. For nearly 2 years, we have experienced the most challenging period in our personal, professional, and business lives. The good news is there are clear and visible signs of economic reopening and recovery in Malaysia and worldwide. So now is the time for us to reconnect with our industry peers and partners, upskill ourselves, and stay ahead. And we thank you for joining us this afternoon for this ARCHIDEX Online special. This special series features the leading voices of the architecture industry with the industry outlook ahead, which is now, and women in architecture and design, which will take place right after this. Our audience will also get to witness the soft launch of ARCHIDEX Online. Since its inception in 2020, ARCHIDEX, an event of the annual Kuala Lumpur Architecture Festival, better known to most of you as CLEV, has been a thriving platform at the forefront of the region's robust architecture, design, and building industry. It bridges industry professionals with world-class architects, influential speakers, and exhibitors to gain insights on the most current industry developments. To kick off ARCHIDEX Online today, we have brought together some of the nation's leading architecture and business events voices to ponder the critical issues the industry faces today. These are: how do these unprecedented changes affect stakeholders in the industry? What has worked, what has not, and what more can be done? How can architecture and building material suppliers meet the sourcing needs of architects in a digital era? To ponder these questions, it is my pleasure to introduce our illustrious panel of speakers for the Roundtable Forum Building Beyond Tomorrow, the Industry Outlook Ahead. I would like to welcome all our 5 distinguished speakers this afternoon. The first distinguished speaker is Dato' Architect Izumi Harzani, President of Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia (PAM), also known as the Malaysian Institute of Architects. Dato' Izumi is also a board member of the Board of Architects Malaysia and Director of Architect MAA Sendirian Berhad, one of Malaysia's largest architecture practices and winner of various awards, including the PAM Awards and the CNBC Asia Pacific Property Award. Can we please give a big round of applause to Dato' Izumi?
Hello, hi Sashi. Thank you
Hello,
for
Dato'. The second speaker is none other than Architect Dr. Tan Lokman, Director of the 2021 Kuala Lumpur Architecture Festival, better known to some of you as CLEV 2021. Dr. Tan is the founding director of Archi Centre Sdn Bhd, DTLM Design Group, and principal of Dr. Tan LM Architect. He is best known for having designed the first Green Building Index platinum-rated house in Malaysia, the S11 House, and is a past president of PAM from 2005 and 2007. Welcome, Dr. Tan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, Dr. Tan.
Good afternoon.
The third speaker is the prominent Dato' Architect Tan Pei Ying, Secretary General of the International Union of Architects. Dr. Pei Ying is the founder of PI Architect. She is a past president of PAM and ARCASIA, board member of the Board of Architects Malaysia, and UIA Region 4 Council member. Dato' Pei Ying is the director of Green Building Index Nuremberg and member of the Melbourne University Advisory Board. At this point, I would like to say congratulations to Dato' Pei Ying and to have to the audience celebrate with well wishes via the comment box on Dato's recent appointment as the Secretary General of the UIA, which also marks the first time it is being held by a female. Welcome, Dato' Pei Ying.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you today.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Dato'. The fourth distinguished speaker is Dato' Vincent Lim, President of CIS and the Asian Federation of Exhibition and Convention Associations, AFICA. Dato' Vincent is founder and president of his own company, CIS, and has an extensive professional experience in organizing flagship and regional trade and lifestyle exhibitions in Malaysia with 12 key brands. These include architecture, interior design, engineering, home and decor, senior aged care, as well as the invention and innovation industries, with some having expanded regionally to Jakarta, Indonesia. A forward-thinking entrepreneur, his dedicated driving force is channeled not just for his own company, but also throughout the leadership role that he assumes within the business events industry. Let us give a big round of applause to Dato' Vincent Lim.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, Dato'.
Hi, good
Hi,
afternoon.
good afternoon.
Last but not least, let us welcome Encik Muhammad Saiful Arifin Rostam from MATRADE, the Malaysian External Trade Development Corporation, who is our fifth speaker. Encik Saiful has 9 years of experience in international trade and export promotion. Currently, he is the manager in construction and business service section of MATRADE. Prior to his current position, he was attached to the Transformation and Digital Trade Division under the Malaysian Export Exhibition Centre Unit. Welcome, Encik Saiful.
Hello, hi Shashi. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. We have all our 5 distinguished speakers with us today. So for members of the audience, please know that you are free to post any questions to all of our 5 distinguished speakers throughout the event. To do so, please use the comment box to submit your questions and specify which speaker you are directing your question to. This is extremely important. Please specify to the question to which speaker you are directing your question to. We'll be looking into the questions from the audience throughout the event. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us get started with this afternoon's event. The first question would be, of course, for Dato' Izumi. Dato', how has the pandemic and global restrictions affected our Malaysian architects and their practice?
Yes, thank you, Sashi. As we all know that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused major disruption to the building industry. This includes the suspension of construction work. Previously, some of us are doing the construction work, and suddenly, I think March last year, we were instructed to stop the work. And then delays in project delivery, escalation of operation costs due to project prolongation, and of course, the cost to comply with the SOP as well. This gives direct impacts to architectural practices, causing many firms to readjust their operations to reduce operating costs and relook at their financial planning operation strategy. Many projects in planning stage have been put on hold indefinitely, and some have been cancelled. So although most of architects manage to adapt the situation and surviving, but drastic action need to be taken. This includes imposing pay cut, employee retrenchment, and some of the officers need to downsize to cope with the current situation. As we all heard last week, I think the Minister of Work reported that construction industry suffered losses amounting to 42 billion since March last year. The MCO has caused the construction industry growth shrunk 19% last year, and it shrunk further to 40% in the second quarter of this year. So this is not good news to us. In fact, this indicates how much we are affected. Generally, I can say that our job market are now 40% smaller, and we are probably 40% poorer now.
Thank you, Dato' Izumi. Dr. Tan, very interesting. Dato' Izumi has said how much the industry has affected, and he said that the job market is now 40% smaller. Can you share some examples of how architects have adapted and thrived in these uncertain times, and what were your own biggest challenges?
Thanks, Sashi. I think the pandemic has been one of the nobody expected it. You cannot plan for it, but it has happened. And when it hit our shores, it hit the shores of every country in the world. And architects had to very quickly, advance technology. So there's a saying that we had very early on that technology from 2030, 2040, it got implemented within a year. We did not just even a year, within a month. Architects adapted very quickly. We started to do work from home. Actually, for most of us who are designers, we are still grasping with this work from home, whether it's actually more efficient or better. But it's definitely here to stay. And I think just following on from what Dato' Izumi shared just now, I think 2021 has been very much worse than 2020. And for a practice like us, the things that we went through, it was basically about survival. We are a medium-sized architectural firm, 100 over staff. Our overheads are close to 900,000 just for salaries a month. I mean, I'll be very open about it. When the times are tough like this year, 2021, worse than last year, not many people will give you about $1 million a month. So survival was actually the key to it. And the firms that do well are the firms where they learn to navigate through it. And every 2 weeks is a different issue. Every 2 weeks is a different scenario. Now we are all trying to come back to the office. I'm a firm believer that we must come back to some sort of normalcy within 2 years. If it takes longer than 2 years, it will be permanent damage to the country, to the social network, to the infrastructure, and to many architectural practices. There's no such thing as just wait and see. And I think very early on, I think Pam took the action, and we actually told everyone to do a health check. Most of us don't do a health check until we are like 50, 60 years old, or when we encounter some problem. But this is one problem where we have to do a very quick health check and to cut off the parts that are unnecessary, cut off the parts that are bleeding your company, the expenses that are not necessary. And maybe that's why we are here today. We are discussing about survival. We are not out of the woods yet. Nobody knows what 2022 is like, but we do know that 2021 in Malaysia for architectural practices has been worse than 2020. It's a time of attrition. A lot of our cash reserves went out. Very little came back in. So that's what we are struggling with, survival. But I'm very optimistic that we will find a way through it. We will navigate ourselves out of this, but we must all do it together. And the whole building industry must join hands and come out of this together. And we will be stronger again because everyone still needs housing. Everyone still needs to work. And I think that we can come out of this stronger next year. But we must come back to a normalcy within the 2 years. Thanks, Sashi.
You're welcome, Dato'. Thank you, Dato'. Thank you, Dr. Tan. The next question would be for Dato' Paying. Both Dato' Izumi and Dr. Tan has been very realistic at the same time very hopeful. And apparently, according to Dr. Tan, 2021 has been a little bit more challenging than 2020. So before I ask you your question, Dato, I have to say this again. Congratulations on your recent appointment as the Secretary General of the UIA, and especially me being a female, as the first female to hold the post. So could you briefly share with us your goals for your term, taking into consideration what Dato Izumi and Dr. Tan has just mentioned? Over to
Yeah,
you, Dato.
thank you, Sashi. Um, Although UIA is an international organization, it has always been regarded as very Eurocentric since its formation in 1948. And like you said, the position of SG has never gone out of Europe, let alone a female. So although I was nominated by PAM to run for this position, I've actually never imagined myself to be able to win this election, because they have always maintained that this position must be held by someone who can speak French fluently. I completely does not even utter a single word of French, and it must be near to the HQ in Paris. So to a certain degree, the pandemic has helped to change the perception as members begin to realize that we can actually rely on technology to fulfill our duty and responsibility effectively. So one of the key goals that was entrusted in me when I ran for this election is to break this unwritten biasness and tradition. My goal is also to advance the aim of the UIA to unite the architects of the world and make UIA a more inclusive and relevant world organization that truly represents the interests of the architects across all the 5 regions. My key focus are to improve the governance of the UIA and to advocate socially responsible and inclusive architecture, promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, to achieve equitable practice and more inclusive society. The UN SDGs and climate resilience shall remain as top priorities of the UIA. It is also my plan to initiate more programs to establish policies that are beneficial to all the member sections and to serve the global environment and profession better. The UIA has, in its recent General Assembly, mandated the year 2022 as a year of design for health, taking into considerations that we are all so badly affected by the pandemic. So we have actually assigned the year 2022 as a year of design for health, and this will be also one of the key agenda. And as a world body, UIA serves as an excellent platform for us to propagate our aspirations to rejuvenate our profession to meet all the new challenges that are presented to us today. I also wish to take this opportunity to highlight that the World Architecture Day was actually created by the UIA in 1985 to celebrate on the first Monday of October each year in parallel with the UN World Habitat Day. Its objective is to recognize architects' ability to change the world we live in and the important role that architecture plays in the built environment. It becomes more evident now for us to be able to work together to see how we can improve our built environment, taking into considerations of the impact of the pandemic. And it also serves to remind the world of architects' collective responsibility for the future of the human habitat. So this year, the UIA has chosen the theme, Clean Environment for a Healthy World, to address the impact of the pandemic on our global environment, focusing on housing and public spaces in relation to the 2030 Development Agenda. I'm very happy to note that PAM and architects have agreed to collaborate to organize this event in conjunction with the World Architecture Day and join the global conversation and how we can all work together to make the world a better one for all and to be able to make a difference, especially during this particular pandemic that really hit the entire world.
Thank you, Dato Tan. That was such an enlightening response. My next question would be to Dato Vincent Lim. I would like to shift the spotlight to the business event industry, taking a leaf from what Dato Tan Ping has just said about the theme of this year's World Architecture Day and how architects play a very big role in this unprecedented time. So, Dato Vincent, it has been a very, very challenging season for the entire industry. We know this. It's not just for the business event industry, it's for all key economic industries as it thrives on bringing people together. So, my question to you is what has worked and what has not? And what are the important lessons learned on managing a business in exhibitions, especially for building suppliers? Thank you, Dato'.
Yeah, thank you, Sashi. Yes, the COVID-19 pandemic has created an unprecedented challenge for everyone since March 2020. Like what Dato' Izumi and Dr. Tan mentioned, the whole industry is creating a lot of other challenge and issue. So for those of us in the professional exhibitions and events industry, the restrictions and regulations and constantly changing of SOP and uncertainty have made it impossible to organize or plan events smoothly. But with every challenge comes with opportunity. This is what I believe. So we have to focus on what we can do and not to be despair by the uncertainty of the whole situation. Like many other industry, including organizer like myself, that we have also pivoted our to online towards a more creating hybrid exhibition. A famous quote by the late Steve Jobs, he mentioned, "Let's go invent tomorrow rather than worrying about what happened yesterday." It's also a quote used by one of my friend, my good friend, a designer friend. So we have to move forward to remain relevant. And now the digital platform offer abundant space to grow and for us to learn. It's like the early bird catches the worm. So we got to be the first few to explore into the new change, learn and prepare ourselves to reinvent or re-improve the future of new business model on post pandemic. So it's what crucial for us to go online as a new way to ensure business continuity with stakeholders locally or abroad. So it is not only for businesses to survive this current scenario, but we need to rethink life or business in a post-pandemic world. Because the entire business model will no longer be the same. It's going to change. And also based on the research in my capacity as Africa president, 93% survey responded has ventured into the virtual or hybrid exhibition since the pandemic. So in conclusion, I foresee a hybrid exhibition or a hybrid concept, be it whether exhibition or other events, will be here to stay in a post-pandemic world. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Winston. Dato' Winston's latest statement about the hybrid exhibition reminds me of what Dr. Tan, your famous quote about 2030 being brought forward to 2021 and 2022. It reminds me of that, and I guess all of us are now preparing for something. I think we have been accelerated to prepare for something that we thought we had time for. Which brings me to the fifth speaker, Encik Saiful. So Encik Saiful, this will be the third year that Matret is collaborating with ARCHIDEX for the International Buyers Program, INSP, more important now than ever before. So how does an online platform like ARCHIDEX Online, plus what Dr. Winston has just mentioned about the hybrid event, help our architecture, interior design, and building industry stakeholders? That's the first question. And the second question is, what are the advantages and benefits of using a digital platform for global business matching? Because that is what the industry practitioners are looking for. Over to you, Encik Saiful.
Thank you very much, Shashi. Matrix and CIS Network has started our collaboration since 2019, whereby at that time, the business matching program was held physically at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre. The idea of the collaboration with CIS Network are to promote Malaysian construction material and related services to prospective buyers, to position and brand Malaysia as one of preferred destination to source for quality construction material, and to value-added ARCHIDEX exhibition by providing cost-effective platform for Malaysian companies who are interested to expand their businesses overseas without leaving Malaysian borders. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, many countries have imposed travel restriction, creating hurdle and also uncertainties to business communities. To overcome this issue, business community should adopt new approaches in promoting their product and services by using online or e-commerce platform. Taking cue from this, Matre and CIS Network once again continue to collaborate to match Malaysian seller with potential foreign buyers by using ARCHIDEX Online. Through the digitalization of international sourcing program, Matrix will help to disseminate information about ARCHIDEX exhibition and select potential foreign buyers globally to be matched with Malaysian companies in this exhibition. And yes, the process of business meeting arrangement is similar to the physical business meeting, except it will be conducted virtually. Through this platform, Malaysian companies will be matched and connected to potential buyers and partners according to their products and also services. What is most importantly is that this initiative involves a minimal cost where both buyer and also sellers across the world could still meet without traveling physically. And the best thing about utilizing digital platform for conducting business meeting is that there is no time limitation where buyers and also sellers could meet and have business discussion at their own convenient time. I think that is pretty much I would say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Encik Saiful. Great feedback, and I'm sure you'll be getting questions from the audiences on the INSP program. Before we move on to the next segment or question number 2, I have an interesting question, Dr. Izumi. I hope you forgive me. Okay, so the government recently announced through the 12 Malaysia plans to build 500,000 affordable homes. And from an architect's point of view, what role can PAM play about shifting the negative perception that affordable homes are of inferior quality?
Okay, thank you, Sashi. I think affordable home is something that I think from history that we all know that housing plays very important roles in the construction industry. So although that some members of public they have this negative perception that affordable homes mean that lower in terms of quality of finishes, quality of design, spaces, and so on. But actually, this is the real opportunity for us because the demand is already there. We know that the demand in housing is always there, and people need to have houses, need to have shelter. But what lacking in the system that we have, the delivery system, we have very good designer. We have people who can do research and to produce a good product of housing. But how to effectively deliver that, that was not properly discussed and studied. We have some research, some study on that, but we have not really sit down and how to implement it to deliver. Most of the time, even the government also give the opportunity to the private sector to champion the housing sector. But in affordable housing sector, I think government is very important for the government to take the lead or even at least to work together with the private sector to come up with a very thoughtful policy how to implement and how to deliver this. The affordable housing is not just about construction. It's not just about technology in terms of putting things, materials together, but the policy, including the financial policy and how to deliver. And we must have sufficient data because when we talk about delivery of housing product, then the location always come to the picture, and it's very important to have right location because the demand actually very much related to the location. And this location actually is subject to the economic activity and job opportunity. People come to the city center, to KL, JB, and Penang because the job opportunity is there, where actually the economic activity happens. So this is where actually the demand for housing actually spur. So this is where we have to look more globally and wider, not just the product of housing itself, but how it relates to the economic activities. So that's my view, Sahi. And I think what the government suggests that we have to look into this. I think it's a very good start to trigger back our economy. Back.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Izumi. That's absolutely right. And I think it's time to look into that. Which brings me to Dr. Tan. It's very interesting that Dr. Izumi spoke about location. And he said that when a location has got very high economic activity, and that's where architects are supposed to look at. So, Dr. Tan, for you, I'm wondering, what are the skill sets that are important for the future talent in architecture, considering the shift towards digitalization? I'm seeing it across multiple key economic sectors, especially in manufacturing. So if you could just enlighten the audience, what do you think are the skill sets that would be looked into, that needs to be looked into in view of digitalization?
I think almost every architect is digitally savvy to the extent that they can do drawings and so on, and also, of course, use the internet to search for things. I think what the pandemic has done is that it put us into little homes and apartments, and wherever you live, you started to, your only access out to the big wide world is actually through the internet. And so technology has become very important. It's become a skill set that everyone needs to have. And interestingly, technology need not be very expensive. And to most of the architectural firms, I think most of the bosses or the companies actually paid or gave a grant to the staff to at least give them a camera in the house so that you can actually see them when you're talking to them. Perhaps I'll take it another step further. Our office does a lot of research, and now we are currently researching on this phenomenon of work from home. We have taken it for granted because everyone was forced to do it. And now it's no longer a situation where you're forced to. Our office is coming out of work from home. We are trying to get everyone back to the office. But something interesting happened a few days ago. One of my long tenants of one of my office buildings gave me a notice that they were shifting out. So I was very shocked. It's very bad timing for one, because I don't know who else will take the place. And I asked them, I checked with them why they were moving out, and they said, we are going 100% work from home. I thought, wow. And we are trying to, the past 2 weeks, we have been trying to do 100% move back to the office. So I set about trying to figure this thing out again and trying to think it through, because it will have a great impact on our profession, our business, because if commercial offices are going to be affected because everyone shifts to work from home, then it's a pretty big impact. And the first thing I had to acknowledge was, I think to everyone here, all the datos, and they actually enjoy their work. They are passionate about their work. They don't mind working long hours. But my conclusion, just in 2 days of research, is not everyone thinks that way. 90% of our staff don't like to work. If you give them a choice, if they can get a salary without working, they will do it. And then I started to realize that perhaps, we are the people who are doing the research are a different kettle of fish. We are people who love what we do. We can stay up to 11 in the office and do drawings. But to the majority of people, they are not like that. And another thing that I started to realize, because I'm also a director of this year's festival. And by the way, I hope I'm not preempting it, but Datum M Plus is going to come back, likely by the end of the year. Humans are social creatures, and while I say work will change because of work from home as an option, but I think social gatherings, networking, festivals, ARCHIDEX, I think that will come back big time. The news that Malaysia is opening up for international travel in December, I think that message went through WhatsApp like a roaring fire. Everyone just wants to go on a holiday because they are social creatures. They want to meet their families, their loved ones. And I think that social aspects will come back big time. Work, I think, will change. And I think for us as architects, we need to address that. So I'm not worried about festivals. I was watching the US Open, where it was a young girl won it, for the first time. And I watched the European Cup, and I started to see that, in the countries that they have been working to this mandate of reopening within 2 years, celebrations, festivals, parties, social networking, they're all coming back in a rage. Don't believe it, you go to Bangsa every evening now and you see people are gathering back again. Of course, with social distancing and SOPs. But for work, we need to think it through. I'm working through it another couple of weeks and hope that I can figure this whole work from home thing. But that's where maybe ARCHIDEX Online plays a very important role. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. Thank you. That's a very interesting thing. I'm 100% in agreement with you that human beings are social creatures. For the first few months, it was good to stay at home and to reconnect with the family. But after that, it became something that we need to reconnect with the rest as well. Totally in agreement with you. To members of the audience, we have heard some of the challenges that the architecture and the BE industries have faced over the past year and a half. So let us now dive deeper into how the industries are overcoming these challenges through digitalization and some thoughts on the industry outlook ahead. So again, please put forward any questions you have for our speakers in the comment box. Otherwise, I'll be surprising them with questions. And I will be looking at the comment box and we'll be picking up your questions very soon. My next question is to you, Dato' Izumi. I'm sorry to put you to task more than twice now. Yeah. So please, Dr. Tan mentioned something about human beings, social creatures, and he's right. And he's still grasping with the fact of work from home and things like that. And we are all facing that, in our respective spaces. So please share stories of resilience and change for some of our PAM members in dealing with these unprecedented changes. Over to you, Dato'.
I love to continue to work from home. That's the first thing that I must say. Okay, although that sometimes I have no choice. I still need to go to office sometimes to attend meeting with client. But like what we are having now, I think this is a virtual platform. We stay connected, although it is virtually. But I think this is a very good opportunity. Like what Dr. Tan mentioned just now, you can see that how this pandemic actually accelerate the changes, okay, in adoption of digitalization. As we all know that for centuries, the pandemic and challenges always been the catalyst for innovation, especially in architecture. You know that architects, they work better, they come up with a creative idea, innovation under desperation. So that's how we survive this profession until today. So after the government announced the MCO last year, I remember that we were given like 1 or 2 days. Okay, then so many of us have taken drastic action that we have to make a quick decision because in 2 more days you cannot go to office anymore. There was a total lockdown starting from 18 March last year. So this pandemic has accelerated digital transformation for remote working and virtual collaboration with amazing digital outcomes. We can see that how there are more and more people adopt this technology, communicate and collaborate. Previously, before this pandemic, only a handful of us actually start doing the virtual collaboration, especially with the international consultant, even in the same country, but some consultants are from Penang, from Johor, from Terengganu, and then the coordinations they can be done. But after the pandemic, I think the changes happen quicker and faster. And many PAM members have adopted this digital technology that widen the opportunity as well. So especially in cross-discipline collaboration. So they are building stronger team with hybrid environment, converging the different skill set that go beyond the conventional setup. So some PAM members remain resilient by expanding their work base to new area. Previously, some of them they focus only on architecture, but now due to this desperation and the need to change and be more agile, Some of them start to venture as interior designer, even involve also incorporate rebranding, facade technology, facade design. They try to focus on certain specific area, niche market, including becoming a sustainable consultant, IBS design, BIM coordination, CGI visualization as well. I know especially the younger architect, they start to do a 3D modeling, graphic visualization for filmmakers, international filmmakers as well, and product design. Okay, some involved in product packaging, web design, publication. Dr. Tan involved in publication as well. Previously, is a print media. Now he is into the digital media, digital publication. You can see more video that be produced by him. And some goes into modern farming. Not to surprise with this technology, IR4 technology. They use Internet of Things to control, to water the farm, everything. So these all the technology and opportunity that architect have ventured into, including I know that some young architects start to do personal coaching, fitness training as well, and community consultation play very important role as well. Many architects start to go into involvement with community services as well. This actually can bring job to them later. And one of our members that I want to share with you from our Johor chapter has completely changed into digital. They bring the digital technology into the next level in architects' work. So where actually they do not use the manual print report anymore. Everything is digital. You want to see report, you can see animated report, video report. They use app to do site inspection, virtual site inspection using the drone technology. So this kind of agility actually open more doors, okay, to new opportunities that, like I said before, that this will marginalize those who refuse to change or those who are unsure about the direction to take. So that's how the architect actually take this opportunity to venture and to explore more opportunity and widen the base for their work and their business. Okay, back
Thank
to
you,
you.
Dato. Thank you so much. But Dato, I'm going to kacau you a little bit more
Okay.
because you talked about IR4 and you
Yes.
spoke about architects going above and beyond what they normally do, right? Because of these unprecedented times. And it's not limited just to architects. I've seen that in recruitment agencies. I've also seen that in my own industry, which is public relations. So, I would like to know, before I get to the other speakers, and speakers, trust me, get ready for these questions. Can you share about the technologies that architects are using today that can assist in building high quality homes but at affordable prices? Because Dato, let me just tell you, in the
Yeah.
industry of PR now, and
Mhm.
because of these unprecedented changes and the fact that people are not making as much revenue as they used to before COVID-19, we had to be very creative in our product solutions. So, about architects, what are some of the technologies, just quickly, what are some of the
Mhm.
technologies that can assist in building high quality homes but at affordable prices?
Okay. Previously, we worked together with some of the developer and also contractors. Actually, it's widely known that this is not a new technology. For example, the one that I'm going to mention is building information modeling. And now even people start to say that it is no longer building information modeling, but it is building information management. This is where actually the building is being built virtually before the actual construction on site. So you have to model every part of the building, you assemble it virtually, so that all coordination, cross collaboration with the engineers, everything be done virtually. So until you see that there's no more clashes, no more issue, then only you fabricate the component. The component can be prefabricated at the factory and just assembled to site. And this is the future, okay, of mass housing technology. And with the IR 4.0, this has all been done through the computer. artificial intelligence. In fact, the manufacturing, the fabrication of the component is no longer manual. It can be done through robotic technology. I know one or two developer and contractor has a very massive plant in building this building component using this technology.
Fantastic, Dato.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to straight jump to Dr. Tan. Dr. Tan, taking a leaf from what Dato Izumi has just said, what do you consider to be the role of architects in sustainable design? Because today we're talking about high quality design at affordable prices. So what is the role of architects in sustainable design? A very quick one, Dr. Tan. You're on mute, Dr. Tan. Can you just unmute yourself?
Sorry. Oh, I thought you meant Dato' Tan Pei Ying.
Dr. Tan. Dato Pei, I will refer to her as Dato Pei. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think, I think some of you remember this when the COVID first hit us and the rivers became clean. I think it went
Absolutely. You
round,
are so
the
famous for your
pictures.
quote. You are
Yeah,
so famous for your quote.
Yeah, now nobody cares, but when it first happened, Sungai Pinang from Penang is actually a black color river water because of the feces and sewage. And it became clear. And I think the thing that we must get, if we ever were to learn something from this pandemic, we must not go back to what we were. We must take the lessons and let it come and hit us really good and change our lives. I see the protests happening in Milan now because of COP26 coming up. But sometimes it's just, protesting is protesting. You can go on forever. But we saw it with our own eyes that we could actually decide to bring change and we could do it. And I think that sustainability has always been, is the main chapter in every architect's design book. And I think that it is something that we will continue to press through. We started Green Building Index 10 years ago, 11 years now, and we are starting a new promotion on it because people have forgotten that Green Building Index transformed millions of square feet of buildings in Malaysia to become green buildings. And it has made a huge difference during this time when you were stuck in your houses. You had better ventilation, you had greenery, you had open spaces. Green building provides all this in its criteria. And I think Dato Izumi, myself, Dato Tan Pei Ying, we all sit on the board of Green Building Index. And we are starting a new promotion on it just to tell people that, hey, 10 years ago, all these things started to become important again. And we think that this is going to drive the future when we come out of this pandemic. All buildings should be green.
Yeah. Dr. Tan, because I'm going to have an extension to that question to you in a moment before I get to Dato Pei Ying as well as Dato Vincent and Encik Saiful. So Dr. Tan, having said all that, what do you see happening for the architecture and building industry, especially what are the demands ahead by consumers?
I think more and more people are looking for architects who are flexible, who are being able to see a bit into the future. You don't have to be a prophet, but you must know what is coming up or what has happened. I think, I've interviewed some architects and for staffing, and they act as though the world has not changed. And when you talk that way, I really wonder whether you're really an architect. And I think that the clients who appoint us, they want people who can dream of the future, who have an idea on the future.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Tan. Now, Dato Pei Ying, I'm coming to you. Dato, I'm sure this is on everyone's mind. In your opinion, from a global perspective, how has the world changed for architects over the past 18 months since the global restrictions were set in place? It was not just in Malaysia, but across everywhere. So in your opinion, how has the world changed for architects?
I think the global restriction have definitely impacted on the whole global and regional architecture community tremendously. You see, a lot of our congresses and events all have to be changed from the in-person to a virtual platform. Although we lost the ability to interact physically, the migration to the digital and virtual platform has to a certain degree make our events actually more inclusive and allow a lot more participation, and there's less cost incurred in terms of travel and accommodation. For example, our recent UIA World Congress and General Assembly, they were supposed to be held in Rio, has been switched to a virtual platform, and this have encouraged the participations of almost every member section of the UIA as compared to the past physical events. And our Congress events also spread over a much longer period instead of the usual few days, and a lot more people benefited actually from the programs. And even for our UIA election for the matter, and more member sections were able to vote using the online voting platform. And the elections were also spread over more than a week to cater for the different time zones. And the result of this particular election clearly reflects the desire to be more inclusive and gender balanced. And in the past, a lot of our regional and international meetings used to be in person and less frequent. You know, like for example, our council meeting used to be like twice a year, right? But for the last 18 months, I noted that in fact we had a lot more active virtual engagement. Not only the world has become a lot smaller, we're able to achieve a lot more with more frequent meetings to address the key issues. But of course, however, the downside is we could not enjoy the physical social interaction that encourages more intimate exchange and fellowship. We're also unable to enjoy the cultural experiences that could only be gained through physical presence. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I've been stuck, you know, in the office and at home. I'm craving to actually go out to meet people. You know, there's actually a lot of fellowship when you meet each other. So
Yes.
now with the vaccine being rolled out, although we hope to be able to eventually return to the pre-COVID-19 regime progressively, so I think we have concluded that we should take this opportunity to really transform and reinvent so we have a new normal that's a bit more progressive. And like a lot of the views are already expressed, like Datuk Vincent and everybody else, I think the way to go is a hybrid system. I think that's the best way forward. And I think we should really tap on digitalizations to promote a lot more programs that's a lot more interactive. But I don't deny that, you know, all of us are social creature, and I really yearn for all this physical interaction that have been missing tremendously. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Payne. That's a really very honest response. It's true. All of us are craving, to have that social interaction. And it's a good thing, that Architects is also going to
Yeah.
be held as a hybrid exhibition, which brings me to Dato Vincent, my favorite person. Okay, so Dato, how does embracing technology and the digital world have helped businesses so far? And why, in your opinion? And I also agree with Datuk Tan as well as Dr. Tan and Datuk Izumi that having a combination of digital and meeting face to face is equally important. But then we have the Architects hybrid event taking place sometime in November. So for now, how does embracing technology and the digital world help businesses, and why, Datuk?
Yeah, thank you, Sasi. Um, After the entire world went into lockdown for nearly 2 years since March last year, I believe people crave human connection, be it in a physical exhibition, face-to-face meeting, or attending conference, like what Dato Tan Pei Ying mentioned. So everyone can't wait to go back to a physical event uh, and what do you call to start back our life like pre pandemic era, but we still have a lot of limitation even though after
Mm.
when we back to by December, example, they declare this is an endemic, as we have to observe, maybe still have got to observe a lot of other SOP or that
Yes.
kind of thing that maybe it will
Mm.
change us. But for business to drive, the way to go forward is to fully deep dive into digital spheres, and this is an optimum time to do it. So businesses are borderless nowadays, like what Dato Tan being mentioned. Their UFI Congress no required to travel everywhere, but just through online they're able to conduct the kind of meetings. And this will be no longer that we are limited by physical border or constrained by time and space. So on the digital platform like ARCHIDEX Online that we will launch it today, any business can be conducted whenever you are and whenever you are connected. So it is also critical to embrace the digital world as it meets the needs of our current and future generation who grow up with technology. I'm talking about the younger generations. And I believe in most of the organization, about 70 or 80% or maybe more of the workforce comprise those in the age of 35 years old and below. This young workforce are members of our future communities who will become industry leaders and drive our economy forward, especially after this pandemic. And we cannot continue to hold on to what has worked in the past, but to embrace the tools and technology of the future that are relevant. In this instance, based on our survey, the young architects or designer or trade owners or trade buyers, if given a chance, they will prefer to source and research online. So in online, you start to engage and communicate with your potential client. And this is the first touch point. And for a start, we have launched ARCHIDEX Online with a scheduling business matching appointment function for the purpose to generate leads for exhibitors now. While there is a massive opportunity for growth in a borderless world where conversations and connectivity are literally between our fingertips, there is still a need for physical exhibitions. Somehow we are human. For example, we need to connect and build relationship through face-to-face meeting, meet and greet people, as well as when you go to the exhibition, you still can see, touch and feel the exhibit products and material. I think that is slightly different, but I think we are talking about how to complement the hybrid and the complement between the online and the offline, and how this thing will be work well in the future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dato'. That was truly an informative answer, which actually brings me to Encik Saiful. So, Encik Saiful, you mentioned earlier that this will be the third year that Matret is collaborating with ARCHIDEX for the International Buyers Program, INSP. So, how does an online platform, now that we have ARCHIDEX Online, help the architecture, interior design, as well as the building industry stakeholders? That's the first question. How does it help? And the second, what are the advantages and benefits of using a digital platform for global business matching? Dato' Vincent has said it so rightfully that today's younger generation prefers to actually go on an online platform. And trust me, I've got two teenage children, and they do like to go on the online platform as opposed to meeting anyone face to face. So INSP is really almost the perfect solutions to bridge between the industry stakeholders as well as their buyers. So how do you think, in your opinion, how does it help our architecture, interior design and building stakeholders? And what are the advantages of using a digital platform such as this for global business matching?
Okay, thank you, Shashi, for the question. Yes, from what I see, ARCHIDEX Online provides a very perfect platform for companies to leverage their participation in this exhibition. So, to maximize the participation in this exhibition, the companies are advised to provide as detailed information as possible in their virtual booth, which include their company profiles, product description, as well as certification. This is to entice potential buyers and also visitors to visit the booth and create interest to participate in the business meeting. Malaysian exhibitors are also encouraged to explore ARCHIDEX online system and connect with as many as possible the foreign buyers who have registered in the online platform. In addition to that, we would like to also encourage Malaysian exhibitor to have a dedicated marketing team to handle and manage trade inquiries throughout the event. The exhibitor are also advised to take opportunity to participate in all activities organized by the event organizer. And then to increase the effectiveness of the business matching programs, Matrade would encourage the exhibitor to inform us the potential buyer that they would like to meet, and we, Matrade, will try our best to invite the buyers and to persuade them to participate in this program. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the audience, we are now moving into the third round of our questions. We're doing well for time. It's 4:03. We're supposed to end at 4:45. So I'm going to be doing a third round of questions for all our speakers. They're not necessarily the most difficult questions, just like in our exams. So for members of the audience, please continue to pose your questions to our distinguished speakers. I know Malaysians are normally very shy when they would have to take to the mic, except for me, of course. I am not too sure about that, why. But please do post your questions. For our speakers, they have actually availed themselves for 1 hour and 45 minutes for everyone. And I feel so proud to be able to actually speak to all 5 of them. So getting to the third round of questions, we'll start off with Dato' Izumi, as always. Dato', I tak tahu sama ada soalan ni susah atau tidak, but I'm still going to ask you, right? So, with so much uncertainty ahead, so much of uncertainty, in fact, in our personal life as well, I'm actually thinking about getting a puppy, just to ease some of the stress. So what is your advice for architects on navigating for the next 12 months? I'm going to come back to Dr. Tan's very famous quote, 2030 is brought forward to 2020. I'm holding that, actually it's in my notebook. So with so much of uncertainty, what is your advice for architects on navigating through the next 12 months? Over to you, Dr. Izumi.
Okay, thank you, Sashi. Okay, I know that you're going to throw a difficult question. Okay, I don't even have the perfect answer. If I have the perfect answer, I don't want even to share with anybody else. So okay, I think what Dr. Tan mentioned just now, that COVID is unexpected disruptor. It really changed. While I think the last 2-3 years we thought that there will be other things that will be the major disruptor to our economy, to the way we do our business. We thought at that time the Internet of Things and other things like blockchain, those are the major disruptor that's going to happen. But all of a sudden, COVID-19 actually a major disruptor to the whole economy, to the whole socio-economic system globally. So this actually also that we have the opportunity before we know that we have some technologies. Okay, but at that time people are not so sure. But COVID had changed the perception of many decision makers, not just in the government policy, but also in the business decision. Sometimes the CEO was so reluctant to make decision, but COVID accelerated, facilitate them. They say no choice, we have to change now. We have to go online, and then we have to use technology, cloud computing, cloud collaboration, for example. So it erases the business borders, not just the country border, nationality border, but it erases the business borders and open opportunity in and out both ways. If we are not agile and not moving fast enough, other players will come to our turf to take on our games. So my advice, what I want to share with PAN members, actually, maybe not just PAN member, but the industry player, especially in our country now, if we think that this is the time for us to cool down and to be relaxed a bit, that may not be the wise decision. The reason why I say this because other people are taking this as an opportunity for them to expand their business. So when I say that the business borders are now erased, that means that it's not just limited to architecture business, but other things as well. So if you are not careful, other people will come and to our turf and probably take a big chunk of the job which previously meant for us. So PAN members need to be very adaptable to react and change to improve their knowledge and skill. So how are we going to do that? By participating in online training program, webinar, similar like we are having now. And now, I think previously before the pandemic, before this webinar thing, we used to have once a month CPD training, or maybe once every 2 weeks. But today, if you can see through PAM program, we have it almost every other day, sometimes every day. Even today, I think we have morning session with Dr. Ken, and this now we have this session. So we have 2-3 sessions a day. So take this opportunity to improve your knowledge and skill by participating in all these training and program. PAM conduct regularly, okay, all these training program, and of course other agency, other association also have a good training. Not necessarily we stick into the talk about architecture. Sometimes we have to know more about technology and business management as well. And we have to see beyond buildings and need to focus on human being as well, because the solution that human need is going to bring businesses to us. Okay, human need conducive living environment and social economy improvement. We as architect, like what Dr. Tan mentioned, we must have vision how to solve this problem. And there is the opportunity. So the opportunity in urban planning, for example, in infrastructure development, that our PAM members need to proactively participate. Do not leave to other people. I just want to do building only. I don't want to do urban planning. I don't want to do infrastructure. We must now start to think how to participate more and go deeper inside this area as well, instead of waiting for building project to come to the table, because by waiting, the project may not come to the table anymore. Besides all the disruption caused by COVID-19, it provides opportunities for our members to reevaluate our practices and make positive adjustment to replan our business priorities. How are we going to move forward? I think we don't have to wait until the pandemic is over. We must plan now. So, Saki, that's my view, Saki.
Thank you, Dato'. Okay, I've got a fun fact question for everybody. All right. So Dato' Izumi said that during the pandemic, and because it's online, there's not just one meeting, there's like 3 meetings in a day. So the question I'm going to pose, I'm going to start off with Dato' Vincent, moving on to Dato' Paying, and then Dato' Tan, and Encik Saiful, and then Dato' Izumi. Do you prefer to have 1 or 2 meetings face to face? Yes and no only, cannot be beyond yes and no. Okay, right? Do you prefer having face to face meeting with your staff as well as with industry stakeholders pre-pandemic? Okay, as opposed to multiple meetings online during the pandemic. Okay, go, Dato' Vincent, yes or no?
I prefer pre-pandemic physical meeting.
Yes. Okay, we're moving on to Dato' Paying.
I prefer mixed. There's no yes or no. It cannot be a yes or no answer. It has
Okay, you got yes,
mix.
no, maybe, yes.
No, it depends on the type of meetings.
Yes,
Actually.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. Tan.
Both.
Dr. Tan, you just threw a spada in the conversation. Encik Izumi, mana satu? Meeting banyak-banyak online, or just, very tactical strategic meetings when we were able to meet physically?
You asked a very good question, but to the wrong people. So architect will not yes or no. Yes or no.
I know.
Yes.
I should have known. I'm dealing with architects, right? I should have known. Which makes me move on to the next. Dato' Izumi has spoken so much about the online platform. So,
You
Dr.
should
Tan.
ask Saiful as well.
Ya, I asked Encik Saiful, I tanya, meeting banyak-banyak ke online atau face to face, very strategic, 2 to 3, and then you have lunch and then you catch up with somebody, you speak to them during the meeting. Which one do you personally prefer?
Well, actually, I prefer both because sometimes we need to have a physical meeting and sometimes we can have a virtual meeting.
All right, that's fantastic, gentleman and lady. So the next question, Dr. Tan, returning to you. Let's get a little bit serious. So how does an online platform like ARCHIDEX Online help industry professionals, both architects and industry suppliers? Dr. Izumi has mentioned that during this unprecedented time, let's not sit on our laurels and wait for something to come to us. We actually need to bring ourselves to where our stakeholders are. So what's your opinion, Dr. Tan?
I believe that the internet and the online services, its keyword is efficiencies. The internet is going to kill all the brokers and the middlemen because you don't need them anymore. And I think that what ARCHIDEX is coming up with an online system, and it will do very well because the pandemic has actually accelerated it and given it a chance to do well. What we did during the last 3 months of work from home lockdown, MCO3, I started to wonder whether the staff were actually working or they were sleeping in after watching Netflix. They wake up at 1 p.m. So our office instituted a compulsory CPD for all our staff. And we have had something like 10 or 11 now. Every Wednesday morning, we start at 9:30. Compulsory for all architects and all technical staff. We wanted 9 a.m., but the time was European Cup, and I was also watching the games, and I thought 9:30 was fair. So from 9:30, everyone has to log in. We give the suppliers 1.5 hours, 1 hour for presentation, half an hour for question and answer. And I found that online presentations, you get 100% attendance for sure because we took attendance. And as well as that, you get 100% attention span. And the presentation is succinct, it's thorough, it starts from A to B. And we did things like application of paint, why tiles pop up, and how do you get 100% coverage for tiles, or is there such a standard at all? Things like that, which every professional should know. And we are very happy to say that it was very successful. Now we are in the interim period where we're coming back to the office, and it's a bit harder to implement. But when we all stuck at home, it was perfectly run. So I think the other thing we did with the online compulsory CPD for our office was we introduced the suppliers to my staff. So most of these people, we know the bosses and so on, or we know the key marketing people through years of contact. But our staff don't know any of them, and they can specify any product without knowing the reliability or how good it is or how it performs. So in the Zoom online meetings, we actually introduce them to key people. So I think one thing that ARCHIDEX Online does is, and is going to do, is that it's going to have a human touch in it. We haven't come to the age where we can talk to robots, or AI has not taken over yet. But I think it will be pretty soon. But for my generation, we still like to meet Mr. Lau from SWISMA, or we like to meet because they make you feel good. They tell you, oh, Dr. Tan, your last building was very nice. Then you feel like, wow, you're good.
Yes.
No, but it's always the personal touch, the connectivity, the networking. And then we introduce them to the staff, and they are very kind. They say that any of them can just contact them directly. I think that's what ARCHIDEX did very well. It connected us to people.
Absolutely.
I think the technology will improve and change. And one day there could be a robot that looks like Dato' Tan Pei Eng. You'll be dealing with robots. Yeah.
What do you want, a robot that looks like me?
Yes.
It can be any shape or look. And you can interact with them. But I just want to highlight something that I believe ARCHIDEX does and does online. We are very bad when we specify for a project. We always do it the last week. before the tender is called. Any architect who tells me they do otherwise, you're either very good or you're lying. So we always need the samples. And when we call the supplier, the supplier who responds the fastest, we say they are very good. Those that don't respond to us, we never use them again, or we put them in the back of the file. No? But I think the fast response time is very important. And during the whole COVID period, when we're all working from home, today when I interview staff, I put a new criteria there, communicator. I ask them, if I text you something or WhatsApp you, you must reply within 1 hour. If you don't reply within 1 hour, you should not work with us. And I tried to look at how Elon Musk built the Tesla, SpaceX and all this. Those things are much more complicated than an affordable house or 30-story building. You need the information on the spot. And I understand that they all communicate very fast. So I've come down to the conclusion: fast, smart, succinct. You don't want them talking rubbish and comparing how big, how your 10 years of experience or 50 years of experience. You don't want that. You want a succinct solution. You need responsiveness. So I think that to me now, when I hire somebody, it's very important. I know people who don't respond to me. And towards the end of the week, they'll respond, say, boss sudah buat, or done. But you don't know whether it's been done, and I cannot check. And the whole week, we get no response from you. I think that is the key. That was how the Tower of Babel was to be built. And when God confused their language, they couldn't communicate. And that's where it disintegrated. And I think that ARCHIDEX Online, where we know people by face or by networking, and as well as that, it is a fast, smart, succinct, and responsive platform. So maybe the next one, Dr. Vincent, we should organize a webinar for suppliers and hear from the architects what we look for in a marketing company. We are looking for. I think the days of pretty girls in skirts have come and gone. But this whole is a figment of people's imagination. It never existed. But the days of pretty girls in skirts, those days are definitely gone. Today, architects need fast, smart, succinct responsiveness.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sashi,
yes.
Can
yes,
I build
Doctor.
on what
Definitely,
Dr. Tan,
definitely.
because I think this topic I was looking at now, with the architects going online. But, currently a lot of these manufacturers and suppliers, a lot of them, they do not have comprehensive data about the product. And, the material and the technology are changing so fast. And, when they send us a catalog, by the time I wanted to use a product, probably the technology has changed. But if you really go online, you find very little information about all these products. And I think one of the way forward is actually for all the manufacturer and supplier to have very comprehensive data on their material to be posted online. They need to be very transparent about the performance of all this material that enable the architect to do comparison before they select the material for the product. So all this open data, to me, is a way forward. Currently, you talk to the manufacturer and the supplier, depends on also the person who come and talk to you. A lot of the time, I find that the marketing person is not even technology sound enough. When you ask them some intelligent questions, they're unable to even answer you intelligently. And it gets me very annoyed in that sense. So I think this is an area that the manufacturing sector and the supplier should really, really seriously address, to develop very, very comprehensive scientific-based data that enable the architect to have sufficient information for them to make intelligent decisions with regards to the product. So maybe, Dr. Vincent, this is an area that you should seriously look at.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, thank you.
Dr. Tan, as well as Dato Paying. Which brings me to you, Dato Vincent. Before I take the audience questions, it's actually one audience questions for all our architects, the 3 architects that we have today. So before that, let me get to Dato Vincent very quickly, Dato, very shortly. So since both, architect Dr. Tan as well as Dato Architect Paying has mentioned about competitiveness and the importance of, marketing people being subject matter experts. So how do you think an online platform like ARCHIDEX Online can enhance competitiveness? Just to enhance competitiveness, how does it bring together vendors and architects? under the same platform. So if you can just give us a quick rundown on that, Dato'.
The ARCHIDEX Online Italy is run like a similar concept like in ARCHIDEX, physical ARCHIDEX exhibition. Let's share a little bit of story how I don't know, maybe this is slightly long, but I just would like to bring the audience to understand the physical exhibition, the objective, and why actually this is a exhibition, ARCHIDEX exhibition in Malaysia. When we started the ARCHIDEX 21 years ago, it's also a small exhibition, and it's what with the goal to help our local architecture and building material suppliers, as also think there is a need to bring all these suppliers to prepare to form a marketplace for the supplier service provider to feature their product and their solutions to the audience, be it local or overseas. We want to connect businesses from the suppliers to the audience, like architects, designers, engineers, trade buyers. Instead of going overseas to source, why don't they come to Malaysia and do business in Malaysia, right? So this makes sense, I think, to gather everybody in one place and to conduct business, to learn, to form business partnership, and to support one and another. So together with PAM and the Tatum Conference on board, also under the Kuala Lumpur Architecture Festival, it is even a bigger event to explore and making it like a festival, a festivalization for the architecture and building industry sector. So, and now ARCHIDEX, it's become a regional or the Asia leading architecture business event in Malaysia. And we bring thousands of industry players, professional buyers from around the Asia coming to Malaysia. I think this is a long journey that have been walked through for the past 21 years. This is not overnight. I think we can build.
Yes.
And the successful partnership with PAM has ensured that ARCHIDEX has grown until today, and most important event in the members' annual calendar. So, and today we are going into the second step, like what Sashi, you're asking me. That's where we are launching of the ARCHIDEX Online in a single platform, similar concept, similar business model instead of physical, but we move it into the online platform. And this online platform offers 68 days of connectivity, actually starting today. Our ARCHIDEX Online is go live, divided into 3 segments under a pre-exhibition, starting from today until 2nd November, which means it's on the 1st and the 4th week. It's enable the visitor or delegate to pre-schedule their business matching section or meeting, and followed by the main events day. That means the actual event day will be from 3rd to 6th November. That is week 5. And these 4 days, it will be a main event days, the full of celebration, to connect and to collaborate with our business partner and the professional, where the conference, the workshop, business meeting, industry trade meetings, and only thing that we don't have the like architect night for dinner and party, but maybe in the different form via online. And also we are glad that we have the matrix on board to have the INSP, the International Sourcing Program. During these 4 days, we'll try to bring in the overseas international buyers for sourcing product via this platform. So I also would like to take this opportunity to thank Matrix for this cooperation. Thank you, Matrix.
Yes.
So that is the 4-day. Sorry, I don't know whether too long or not.
Yeah, perfect answer, Dato'. Perfect answer.
Right.
Because I know in Encik Saiful, you have been, I'm getting to you. I'm
Yeah.
getting to you. But don't be
Sorry,
afraid looking
Sashi,
at
I
me.
haven't
Yeah.
finished. The
Please,
last
please
part.
continue, Dato'.
Yeah, the last part on the post exhibition that is from 7 to 10 December. That's the week 6 to week 10. It will allow you after the main 14 day to extend further of your online engagement or your continue experience in the business, doing business in online, and also to continue for your product sourcing and attending talk and webinar. I believe that true prosperity is helping one another grow.
Yeah.
Like always someone is telling me that the rising tide will lift all boats. So it's what better way actually if we can to fulfill this than to cooperate, connect and communicate through the new way of working together. So I'm not sure whether if time I would like to share a video to let us back to 2019 of ARCHIDEX, where how ARCHIDEX happened before pandemic time. Video, please.
Very good exhibition, and I think it should be done every year as a big trend. But I was very impressed.
Many great ideas, materials, basically it's inspiration as well.
It's great. It's very vast.
It's a very big regional show right now.
Thank you, Dato'.
Yeah,
Fantastic
thank
video.
you, thank you. This was the scene of ARCHIDEX before pandemic. So I believe everyone should miss this kind of event.
I know I personally
Definitely you
miss.
miss that kind of event, and we hope we will get to see everyone very soon. Because of the pandemic, see, business model will change. So why I want to show this video is because it's just to let everyone to refresh that it was pre, and now we are moving into the post-pandemic. So I urge maybe our stakeholder, our partner, to reinvent and to adapt into the new change. And this is where ARCHIDEX Online is here to serve you.
Actually, Dr. Vincent, just to let
Yes.
you know, I have attended ARCHIDEX for so many years. I never had
Thank
an
you.
opportunity and enough time to actually visit all the booths because we were so busy with all the events. So this
Yes.
hybrid system may be good, stretch over a longer day
Yes.
to enable us to have a chance to actually go and visit every single booth online. Previously, we were also busy with the events. We never have an opportunity to really go and visit the exhibition booth.
Yeah, because during the physical event, there's full of
Yeah.
activities.
A lot of
meeting,
activities. Yeah.
a lot of functions that hosted by exhibitors. So
Correct,
everyone
correct.
seemed like it's a big industry gathering.
Correct,
This
correct.
is
But
where
I
we plan
really
to do
miss
it.
that
Yeah,
too. Yeah, I miss that too. Yeah.
Thank you, both
It is
yeah,
datos.
we keep it fast.
like it's
Yeah,
like a
it's interesting.
reunion. It's like a
Yeah,
reunion.
reunion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We meet
It
a lot of people
reminds
that we have not met. Yeah.
It also
For a long
reminds
time.
me of Dr. Tan's clef, which is full of fun, extremely full of fun. So we're actually looking back to meeting each other physically, which brings me to you, Encik Saiful. All our architects, including Datuk Vincent, has given very insightful feedback. So, Encik Saiful, for the benefit of our audience, would you like to share with us on other of Matrix's program, grants, and incentive schemes that companies can participate, especially companies in the architecture, interior design, and building industry, in addition to the INSP?
Okay, thank you, Shashi, for the question. We wish to inform you that Matrix actually have 46 overseas offices and 5 regional offices in Malaysia. In Malaysia, our offices located in Penang, Johor, Kuala Terengganu, Kuching, and also Kota Kinabalu. Malaysian SMEs may contact our overseas offices to get advice or information about the market that they would like to penetrate or venture into. In terms of programs, Matrix has extensive programs to help and support Malaysian exporters to venture into global market. For this year, Matrix has outlined 57 programs under export promotional activities, whereby most of the activities are conducted in hybrid format or virtually, which include participation in the international trade fairs and also export acceleration mission. Besides that, Matrix also conducting a series of webinar and also training to update Malaysian exporters on global trade requirements, challenges, and also business opportunity in the overseas market. In line with the digital era, all programs are conducted online and complimentary for Malaysian exporters. Malaysian SMEs could get information about the program and list of the webinar from our website. The website is www.matrix.gov.my. Under Export Development Program, we have a dedicated program under Bumiputra Women and also Youth, which known as Bumiputra Women and Youth Export Development Program. This program is hand-holding program to eligible SMEs in their export ventures. In response to COVID-19 pandemic, the incentive under these programs were enhanced to include activities such as participation in virtual trade fairs, which covers participation fees, virtual fees, administration fees, and also digital marketing. The pandemic has not only altered the landscape of the economy, particularly in the operation of the brick and mortar businesses, but it also induced the acceleration of e-commerce growth. Through Matrix e-Trade 2.0 program, companies are encouraged to leverage on digital platforms such as Amazon and also Alibaba for export promotion to keep the export business afloat. Under e-Trade 2.0, which launched this year, Malaysian SMEs will be offered 2 schemes of export facilitation initiative, which are onboarding scheme worth RM5,000. These schemes provide financial incentive to cover part of onboarding costs to join at least one or multiple e-commerce platforms. The second scheme is called Digital Marketing and Training Scheme, where it provides financial incentive worth 20,000 to cover part of the cost in undertaking digital marketing activities or e-training program. Besides that, Matrix also provide financial assistance under Market Development Grant, where it is an export initiative in the form of reimbursable grant. For this year, Matrix has enhanced the scope of eligibility criteria to assist SMEs to sustain and expand their export sales during the pandemic. Starting this year, 5 new activities were introduced to cushion the impact of COVID-19 on our SMEs exporter, such as financial compensation for cancellation or postponement of trade fairs, reimbursement of logistic costs for sending Malaysian products overseas, international certification for export, and also the registration of intellectual property, and also advertising and ANP, advertising and promotional activities. We also have a dedicated financial assistant for Malaysian services provider such as Export Services Export Fund. This fund is meant for export facilitation initiative in the form of reimbursable grant to enhance capability of Malaysian services provider in gaining market access into overseas project. Eligible applicants are Malaysian services providers, trade and industry association, chambers of commerce, professional bodies, and Malaysia cooperative societies. This year, our Services Export Funds has introduced additional 3 eligible activities relating to requirement of overseas project, particularly in participation fees in training program held overseas, registration fees for certification, including compliance to sustainability, and last but not least is purchasing or hire purchase machinery and also equipment, including IT software. That's all for now.
Thank you, Encik Saiful. Thank you so much. That's a lot of information. So if there's a single online platform that our audience can go to, what would the address be, Encik Saiful?
Sorry, come again?
If there is a single, web address that our audience could actually go to, where would that be? Would it be matrade.com.my?
All information is available at www.matrade.gov.my.
Brilliant. Thank you, Encik Saiful. So speakers, as much as so much of fun that we're having, we're actually at 4:38 and we would need to hand over the session to the next roundtable, which takes place at 4:45. So I don't know how to thank you for making my job so much easier today. And to members of the audience, we have come to an end of the Roundtable Forum, Building Beyond Tomorrow, the Industry Outlook Forward. So as you have heard from our speakers, ARCHIDEX Online is certainly a digital platform you must take advantage of. So this platform enables you as industry professionals and suppliers from the architecture and building community to not only build business, through business matching, collaborations, and partnerships, as well as product sourcing, but also to learn and get industry updates through a lineup of conferences, forums, talks, and discussions. So if you're ever at the hybrid event, please go and find Dato' Vincent Lim, Dato' Paying, Dato' Tan, as well as Encik Saiful. So now, everyone, I would like to invite you to sit back, including the speakers, sit back and enjoy this special video that we have prepared for the launch of ARCHIDEX Online. Sit back and enjoy.
As architects, we never stop learning and growing our knowledge and understanding in built environment. And as the world we live changes, responding to these challenges and uncertainty the shift to digital is imminent. ARCHIDEX Online is expected to be the largest gathering of architecture and building industry professionals and suppliers. On this platform, we are connected beyond borders. This is a place to explore, experience, gain new knowledge, communicate and collaborate in creating better environment for everyone. See you there at ARCHIDEX Online.
The global restrictions have accelerated a massive shift of behavior online and forever altered our way of working and living. It's as though 10 years of the future has been fast forwarded to where we are now. As we are moving so quickly, the digital world that allows us to network with suppliers become an important tool for us to foster relationships, network, share ideas, and ways that work. ARCHIDEX Online connects us beyond borders. Come and join us for this year's Kuala Lumpur Architecture Festival and go beyond tomorrow.
ARCHIDEX has always been to take our local businesses global and to bring international names here under one roof. And the new ARCHIDEX Online fulfills that. ARCHIDEX Online is also the place for you to connect and collaborate with stakeholders on one single platform to take your businesses beyond tomorrow. Be connected anywhere at any time. The global marketplace on ARCHIDEX Online is limitless. It is the best sourcing platform for every architect and industry specifier looking for architecture and buildings material. I look forward to see you on ARCHIDEX Online.
Thank you to our distinguished panel of speakers again for your time today. I'm going to reiterate your name, Dato' Architect Izumi Harzani, Architect Dr. Tan Lokman, Dato' Architect Tan Pei Ying, Dato' Winston Lim, and Encik Muhammad Saiful Arifin Rostam. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to seeing you at the 21st Architects Exhibition happening from 3rd to 6th November 2021 at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre and at the Architects online platform at archidex.com.my. So to our panel speakers, please wave goodbye to our audiences as I hand over the stage to the next webinar spokesperson, Architects Alice Leong, who will be moderating the next panel discussion on women in architecture and design. So Alice, are you online?
Hello, Sashi. Yes, I'm
Hello,
online.
Alice. I've had
What a wonderful job you have done. Yes.
I know, I've had a brilliant 1 hour and 45-minute session, Alice, and I wish you the very same. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. And you have done a good job for this round. Thank you so much.
I know, and
all speakers are doing good jobs too.
I know. I wish you a great session ahead, Alice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope other speakers also stay with us because this is interesting topics. And I think it's gender equity is completely different with gender equality.
Oh, that's a good one, Alice. That's a good one. Awesome. Awesome. See you soon. Bye, Alice.
Thank you, Sashi. Thank you so much for moderating the roundtables forums held at 3 p.m. just now. And hello, everyone, and a very, very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome again to ARCHIDEX Online Special. This is the online talks that we held in conjunction with the World of Architecture's Day, which is today, the 4th October of 2021. This is a very special day to all the architects nationwide, not just a special days, but a special month, the October month, every year the same. All the architects will celebrate with many, many other programs and events. So for this year is no exceptional, even though all of us are still in the situations of pandemics and many things, movement in physical may be constrained, but it doesn't stop us to continue to do more interesting events, more creative events and programs, and how we still interact with each others and how actually to show to all the peoples that involved in built industry, either it's from architects, engineers, the suppliers, the contractors, everybody This is also including people which is outside of the built environment industry. Interesting enough. So we have a way to do it and continue. We interact with people. So with this online talks is a jointly organized by PAMS and also the CIS network, endorsed by Matrix and supported by the Ministries of Work, Malaysia, Convention Exhibitions Bureau, and as well as myself. So again, let me introduce myself. My name is Architect Alice Leong, a practicing professional architect and interior designer. Currently, is also the PAM Honorary Treasurer. I'm appointed as the SDGs Commissions Committee of International Unions of Architects, in short called is UIA, for the region number 4, and also appointed as a committee members in the Architects Regional Council Asia, ACASIA, in the Green and Sustainable Architecture Committee, ACGSA, as well as the Zone B representative for ACGSA appointed by the committee. I am also the GBI qualified facilitator, GBI accredited panels, also sitting in the GBI technical committees team. Currently, I'm also practicing as professional building inspectors, as well as just passing through my arbitrator that course passed by PAM and also CIL. Today is truly my honor to become your moderators for this session. Thank you for all of you. Keep on staying with us. And for those who newly joined with us, thank you so much for spending and sharing your precious time in these sessions. So this session again will be conducted through the FB Live. So everything you want to give your feedbacks, your comments, your questions, you can just post it or type it in through the FB. We will pick it up from there. So ladies and gentlemen, every year a theme will be given by UIA, the International Union of Architects, for a celebrations for Architecture's Day. So this year is no exceptional, and there is a new theme for that. It's called Clean Environment for a Healthy World. We do hope all the architects continue to contribute to the global conversations on the 2030 on the sustainable development agenda by focusing on 3 areas: housing, public spaces, and their relations to climate change. So today, our talks is focusing also on the women's in architecture and design contributions towards climate resilient architecture. So now, I would like to introduce to you again Dato' Architect Tan Pei Ying, the chairman of the PAM Gender Equity Committee. She is the founder of PI Architects. She is a past president of PAMS and ACASIA, a board member of Lembaga Architect Malaysia, directors of GBI Sdn Bhd, members of Melbourne's University Advisory Board, and recently, Dato' Pei Ying has also appointed as a secretary general of the International Unions of Architects, the first females to hold this position, and it's truly make all of us proud of it. So with great honor, let us welcome again Dr. Architect Tan Pei Ying, the chairman of PAM Gender Equity Committee, to deliver her opening remarks for this online session. Hand over to you, Dr. Pei Ying.
Hi, good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to this special webinar. The objective of this special webinar are twofold. Firstly, it is to celebrate the World Architecture Day, and the theme set by the International Union of Architects this year is Clean Environment for a Healthy World. Secondly, it is to showcase women's architects' exceptional work to the public, focusing on their contribution towards climate resilience that promote healthy environment. This event is a joint collaboration between the PAM Special Committee on Gender Equity and Architects. The Special PAM Gender Equity Committee was set up by PAM in mid-2019. The main objective is collectively pool our resources, experience, and energy to promote the culture of inclusion within the profession, address the gender disparity, and recognize the importance of the contribution not only by men, but also by women architects to the architecture profession and the built environment. This is the inaugural session of the special series on women in architecture and design, planned by the committee. This series will feature women architects who have contributed tremendously in their respective ways to the architecture fraternity and climate resilience. We have the great honor to have both Dato' Nafisa and Serena to share their journeys with us today. They serve as great role models, and we hope that their leadership and experiences would inspire, empower, and advance our future generations of architects. I wish to reiterate that gender equality, which is the UN SDG number 5, is not only a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. It is very important to include a gender perspective in all climate change policies and programming, and to ensure that both women and men can contribute their knowledge to the solutions. We all play a critical role in emphasizing and raising awareness of the importance of having a more inclusive approach and diverse leadership to achieve more balanced planning that will contribute to climate resilience design and forge the path towards the transformation to make the world a more equitable and inclusive one for all. I would like to quote what Emerson, the 19th century poet, said: "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. As such, it is our joint responsibility to ensure we protect our environment and to build back better. So let us all work together to make a great difference." Thank you.
Thank you so much to Dato Architect Tan Peng again. Thank you for the opening remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce our speakers, I would like to highlight one very important announcement to you. For those who are actually claiming for the CPD point, take note that this session is actually CPD applicable. So take note on that. That's very important. All right, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, well, I believe many of us has been witnesses what has been going on around the whole nationwide, the world, and what's just going on with us. The climate change may still be a political hot potatoes issues, but the scientific community is almost unanimously on the same page. It is real. It is already now impacting our planets, our daily lives. We can no longer ignore the extreme temperatures any more than we can actually ignore the precipitations that has intensified in the recent years, especially in this extreme years 2021. We are already seeing some of the devastating effects of climate change. We increased flood, hurricanes, and other nature disasters, and many natural disasters had happened and becoming worse with the impacts of this pandemics. So what does actually climate resilience have to do with architectures? Green sustainable architectures? I believe our renowned speakers are ready to share with us from their perspectives and their experience from various capacities. So without further ado, we will begin with our first speakers of today's sessions, and she is Dato Nafisa Radin, the principal of NR Architects and Interior Design. Allow me to have a very short introductions about architect Dato Nafisa Radin. She began her career in 1986 as an architect in the Public Works Department. From the year 1992 to 1999, she was partners with Veritas Architect Penang. Dato Architect Nafisa Radin has made an incredible marks in the male-dominated building industry as the sole principal of NR Architects and NR Interior Design since year 2000. The Diamond Building for the Energy Commission's headquarters in Putrajaya is the first to gain the Platinum Green Building Index GPI in Malaysia in year 2010. The design has won various awards including the Asian's Energy Award 2012. Dato Nafisa has received numbers of national awards in the recognitions of her achievement, including the prestigious Ernst & Young Women Entrepreneur Award. She has also served as independent directors at PNB Development Syndrome Berhad and PHNB Right of PNB. Currently, she is a trustee of Merdeka Heritage Trust. So with that, let us welcome Architect Dato Nafisa Radin to present her talk. So I'll hand over these platforms to you, Dato Nafisa. Are you ready?
Hi everybody. Good afternoon, AR Alice. Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm very humbled to be invited to speak at this conference on the topic related to women in architecture and design. initiated by the Special Gender Equity Committee, chaired by Dato' A.R. Tan Pei Yin, who I admire very much. It's almost an impossible task to share 35 years of experience and challenges in 20 minutes. Nevertheless, with A.R.'s Salinas and my sharing, we both hope it will motivate the younger generation, especially in your journey to achieve your dreams and ambition. 3 qualities that drives me to be where I am today is what I call my ABC recipe for success. A for ambition, which is the desire to achieve success. B for belief, the belief that any of our goals is achievable because you are what you think. C, change, taking actions to improve and adapt. Change to me is the hardest part of the journey. It's all about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I graduated from Nottingham University in 1985. Upon my return from England, within 2 months, I started work at Razali Associate Architects. After 6 months, I was called to serve in Jabatan Kerja Raya headquarters because I was a government scholar with JPA. Ladies and gentlemen, my immediate goal from day one at JKR was to build a credential. So within 3 years at JKR, I obtained my Part 3. Credentials give credibility and it opens opportunities. As a young architect, I was entrusted by the Pengarah of Cawangan, then the Dato' A.R. Abdul Rahim Abdullah, to be involved in a number of important projects. After 7 years in JKR, I was already at my comfort zone. I have seen the inception to completion of prestigious projects like the embassy in Tokyo and Jakarta. While in Unit Sumber, I was involved in strategic planning of all the projects of Cawangan Bangunan, JKR. I was also exposed to top management in the government and also ministers. My take, in a big organization like JKR or in the corporate sector, to grow, you need to differentiate yourself and stand out amongst your peers. I joined Veritas Architect as an associate in 1992. What I appreciated most at Veritas Architects was to be exposed to David Hashim, the partner's strategies in the business of architecture. After 1 year, I approached David Hashim to consider me as a partner of Veritas Architects. Instead, I was offered a partnership to set up the Veritas Architects Penang office to handle projects in the northern states. This is because Penang is my hometown. Despite the slight disappointment, I agreed to take the offer as I saw it as an opportunity and a challenge to grow to the next level. I believe that things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. Being part of Veritas Architects gave me the confidence to lobby for projects successfully and to implement the systems that are already in place in the company. There were a number of challenges that I faced when I was managing the Penang office for the 7 years in Veritas Architect Penang. I had to travel weekly between the Penang office and Kuala Lumpur to be with the family over the weekends only. It was a sacrifice that the family accepted. I had to get accustomed to handle professionally the occasional harassment, especially now as a partner, I needed to secure projects and favors. The Penang office had to be financially independent and self-sustainable. After 3 years, in 1996, I proposed to David to set up a sole proprietorship of NR Architect, as I was confident that I can also lobby for projects in Kuala Lumpur. Due to my experience and networking in the government under NR Architect, we participated in design competitions and secured projects, especially in Putrajaya, which was in the early development stage. These projects were carried out by the same team at Veritas Architects Penang. In 2000, after 7 years with Veritas Architects Penang, with mutual agreement, of course, I retired from the Veritas Architect Penang partnership to focus full-time on NR Architect, which was already based in Kuala Lumpur. This was because my family was always in Kuala Lumpur, and I was expecting my 4th child at the age of 40. NR Architect's tagline was commitment to integrity and professionalism. My early involvements in NGOs like Peniagawati and NAWEM had broadened my network. It also exposed me to all the trainings and government assistance available for NR Architects' firm cash flow and our expansion. To benchmark myself in the business circle, I decided to participate in various entrepreneurship awards to align myself with the judging criteria. I would like to share with you these judging criteria common in all the entrepreneurship awards. 1. Entrepreneurial spirit. It's all about tenacity. It's all about tenacity. Value creation is what sets you apart from your competition. Strategic direction. What is your vision to fulfill your goal? National and global impact. How do you affect the market locally and globally? Innovation. What are the new ideas, be it in management, service, or product? Last but not least, equally important is about personal integrity and purpose-driven leadership. How you align the aspect of running the company with your core values and beliefs. In summary, ladies and gentlemen, being the best at providing a design or a product is only a small part of what it takes to be recognized as a successful entrepreneur running any business or an architecture practice for that matter. It was indeed an honor that I have won a number of these Women Entrepreneurship Awards through the years. This has enhanced my credibility and my visibility as an architect in the business and the corporate circle. Differentiating and standing out among your peers is an asset in a very competitive market. One morning in year 2009, I received a telephone call from the corporate head of PNB, Datuk Paduka Kartini. She informed me that PNB would like to invite me on board as an independent director at PNB Development Sdn Bhd. I was caught by surprise and asked her many times, "Are you talking to the right person?" Indeed, the Entrepreneur Awards and the media coverage has given me value to my brand, both personally and professionally. In the last 12 years, as a director in the development company and the REITs of PNB, I have gained tremendous exposure and understanding just by sitting on the other side of the table. This has influenced and changed my approach as an architect in handling the clients and projects, including how I run the company. I would like to share my story as the architect for the Energy Commission building. I was entrusted by Putra Perdana Development Sdn Bhd, our client, to be the architect for the Energy Commission building in Putrajaya after working with the company on a number of their pioneer projects in Putrajaya. Before embarking on the design, the client and the whole consultant team, we did a lot of research on energy efficient buildings. We also visited buildings in Singapore, Japan, and Thailand, all paid by the client. In Thailand, we met Professor Sunton, who was an architect come professor at the University of Bangkok that specializes in low energy building and green and sustainable architecture. The client was very impressed and requested us and our architect to collaborate with Professor Sunton. This is very common in the industry for architects to collaborate with each other. During the first kick-off meeting, both architects were asked to come up with the design proposal for the site in Putrajaya. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, during the presentation at the second meeting, my counterpart did not display mutual respect as a fellow professional. The next day, I made a decision and informed the CEO that I wanted out of the project. To my surprise, the CEO persuaded me to stay on as the architect. He informed me that my counterpart service will end after the next meeting. The rest is history. Ladies and gentlemen, mutual respect and trust is a key in a business relationship. And this is something I am not prepared to compromise. I would like to show you a short video clip of the energy efficient and green features that was incorporated in the diamond building in Putrajaya. Please enjoy yourself. The facade is slanted at 27 degrees so that the sun rays never falls on the facade. Light is brought down right up to the ground floor, which is 7 floors below from the atrium. The lights are also reflected down to the ground floor. Low E glazing is used on the facade. The mirror light shelf reflects light into the core of the building. Light sensors are used, which are automatically switched on if daylight level is insufficient. We also design a roof light trough that brings light to the 6th floor. It gives it a nice diffuse lighting. The aircon system is based on slab cooling. BIPV panels are used on the roof. Green label materials are fully used in the interior. The rainwater harvesting are located on the roof. Thank you. The Diamond Building is the first building in Malaysia with the Platinum Green Building Index rating and the BCA index from outside Singapore. It has, as mentioned by Alice, it has won many awards, both local and international, including the Asian Energy Award for new buildings in the year 2012. Currently, we are designing and constructing the building for the new bachelor's degree program for sustainable energy for UniKL BMI located in Gombak. It's a two-story building with a gross floor area of about 25,000 square feet. The building is expected to be the first zero carbon and energy plus building in Malaysia when completed by end of next year. It's a living lab concept, meaning it's a simulation building with real-life testing laboratories for the benefit of teaching, research, and industry collaboration. In the year 2015, to have a different outlook in running an architectural practice and to grow, I attended a personal coaching with the 𝐴𝐷 organization, an American-based wealth and business coach. We rebranded the firm with a new tagline of "We design buildings that stand the test of time." We also renovated the office with a new environment to inspire our current team and also to attract new blood into the company. I'm very grateful and fortunate that I have exposures to mentors ever since my early days at JKR. These are women who inspire me, the likes of Tan Sri Rafida Aziz, Tan Sri Shariza Abdul Jalil, and Datuk Sri Mohaini Samshuddin, who just retired as the Maybank chairman. These ladies empowered me to be resilient in the face of challenges in the business world. I do believe that it's important to surround yourself with people who are going to take you to higher levels. I cannot begin to stress how important it is to be networking and be out there in the playing field, not only to be amongst our profession and industry, but just with everybody who could one day be our business associate. Networking is the number one unwritten rule of success in any business. I put in all forms of network, I put in time in all forms of networking, including through sports activities like golf, which I started soon after working in JKR, sailing, and now even cycling. These sports are another form of exercise to stay fit and distress, especially in running a business like architecture and in a very competitive industry. I'm humbled that the media has given me a lot of coverage since my days in JKR. It not only gives me visibility, but also enable me to now inspire other young women or probably young men, I hope, to follow their dreams. Indeed, to be inspired is great, but to inspire is indeed another honor. I would like to end this presentation by highlighting that what gets you where you are today will not get you to where you want to be without change. Change in how we take action and move forward is inevitable, especially in the current situation we are facing. We are now in uncharted territory due to the pandemic. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end my presentation with a big thank you. Back to you, AR Alice.
Thank you so much, Datuk Nafisa. This is a very good presentation. I totally can understand the way when you face different peoples and how they actually look at you, how they feel at you, or maybe the way they talk to you, especially in our industry. It's truly tough, It's still going on. It still happens, and you are definitely one of my mentor for long. I did, but today you just know it because I think as a females in this industry is truly tough. And I really love your concept about the ABC, which is true enough, and the way that you didn't give up and continue to actually um, creating miracles in our big industry. I think that is wonderful. So from what you have presented just now, I can actually conclude that is truly what have been done for this diamond building is truly an iconic building and is set as another remarkable landmark in our Malaysia architecture, and it makes us proud. And this again, it shows that architects have the powers actually to design and how we use it wisely with all the skill and knowledges and what we have. It doesn't matter what gender are you, but as long as you are having the capabilities to do that. So priority, we build quality building, not compete with quantities of projects, which make
Yes.
actually quicken, yes, by the projects, and we
Yeah,
will
I
tear down
agree
our
with
mother
you.
very fast. Don't you agree?
Yeah,
So
to
sometimes,
me,
yeah.
to me, it's not about quantity; it's about quality.
Exactly. So we know that in this era, everybody is moving to the digitalizations, and time is actually like, instead you are chasing the time is chasing you back, and as if I think that is something that all of us really have to really look into that. Yes, we can move fast, but at the same time, certain process we still talk about the quality instead of the quantities. So again, I think that from what Dato Nafisa has been done as of today, it really shows that the need of the gender sensitive responsible to the effects of
Yes.
the climate change, right? So
Yep.
women plays essential role in achieving a sustainable development goal, protecting our planet's nature resources, and building a climate resilient futures for generations to come. So with that, thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Nafisa.
you.
You can rest for a while. I will invite you back later in the Q&A sessions.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Nafisa. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite our next speakers, also the last speakers for this session, another renowned speakers and is another my mentor, architect Serena Hijaz, the principal directors of Hijaz Kasturi Estates in Bahar. So let me have a very short introductions about her. Architect Serena Hijaz is one of the creative directors in Hijaz Architects and Planners, and is known for changing the building landscape for architecture through buildings that are responsive, energy conscious, and bold. Her formative years exposed her to energy efficiency as well as sustainable design, and have culminated in projects like the Harriet Watt University's Green Campus, Celcom Tower Interconnectivities offices, and EPIC's Waste Training Center. Through a series of energy award buildings, the approach to design is holistic, responsive of placemaking, context with the view in generating new environment sustainable specified strategy in every project. The Malaysia Pavilions at Dubai Expo designed by Hijaz architects and planner will be the first net zero carbon pavilions at Expo's envisioned as a pavilions in synergy with nature inspired by the rainforest and Malaysia traditional architectures of building on steel. In the canopies of trees touching the ground likely, the Malaysian pavilions hopes to inspire its nature on the importance of sustainable growth. So currently he just is working on with Big and Rainbow on the biodiversity's Penang South Island, envisioning 12 strong sustainable principles of three urban lily pad islands where cultural, ecologically, and as well as economic growth can coexist. So architect Serena Hijaz currently is also the chairman of the Green Building Index accreditation panels, the vice president of Malaysia Green Building Council, in hopes to bring awareness to flatten the current carbon emissions. So let us welcome architect Serena Hijaz. Hi, architect Serena Hijaz.
Hi, sorry, I can't see
Hi.
myself, so I'm not quite sure where I am.
Yeah, we see you. We see you.
Okay.
Well, for everyone, Architect Serena now is in Dubai, so she's live from Dubai.
I am live in the base of the Malaysian Pavilion, which was just launched this morning. The whole expo just opened on the 1st of October, and Malaysia's pavilion officially was launched today. So I really wanted to give what is I guess, the passion that drives the architecture that we develop at 𝐸𝐸𝐺𝐻. And as I see us moving forward, I think it's, I did think about talking about biodiversity, but it's fairly controversial talking about biodiversity, the Penang Islands, not to mention, but specifically the way that we have developed the islands has all been nature-based design, which is the first in Malaysia to be done. And in my topic for today, I'm calling it Restoring Balance with Ecology, and it's what I think will be the architecture of the future.
Great. So I'll hand over the screen to you, Architect Serena. So you may start. Thank you.
Okay, so restoring balance with ecology, I think, is the way of the future. It's empirical to us that we actually move in this direction in terms of the adoption of beyond green. When I say beyond green, means beyond the energy efficiency that we've been doing for the past 10 years, we now are at a state of a critical intersection where we really need to combine energy, resources, and ecology as one of the most important aspects to restore balance back to our planet and to Malaysia. So we need to move faster in this transition to a new norm, where I believe the minimum is at least 50% reduction of energy and 50% increase of ecology and biodiversity by 2030. There's a lot of discussion about 2030, and obviously Greta put a spanner in the works when she actually said blah, 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 because there's too much talk about 2030, and really what we need to do is the actions to get us to 2030, which speaks out louder. One of the things I think that I've been very, very interested is how big is our environmental footprint? I think, and if any of you have actually gone into WWF, I think they launched this more than 10 years ago. Their paraphrase was, the planet is a crisis, from climate change to the pollution in our oceans and devastation of forests. It's all up to us to fix it. And I don't know if you've done their environmental footprint, but taking that to the next stage is how big is your ecological footprint. Now, I did this, and first I actually got 6.1 worlds. I was actually utilizing so much more carbon, and that's before the pandemic. During the pandemic, I dropped down to 4, and that's even just going to work maybe twice a week. And only flying once this is the first time I'm flying in 2 years. So the ecological footprint is the only metrics that measures how much nature we have and how much nature we use. It's a nation's biocapacity, it's called. And both WWF and Global Footprint Network actually look to measure this. And I'll show you what is Malaysia's ecological footprint. And then we've come to this discussion about how big is your carbon footprint. It's something that you can't see, but it is measured by how much we use, we consume, how much we build, and obviously buildings have a large carbon footprint. So these were some of the thought processes when we were actually looking to do the Malaysian Pavilion. Malaysia stands at the moment at a biocapacity of about 2.3. And our ecological footprint at the moment is about 3.9. So we are actually in a deficit at the moment. We are consuming and utilizing, even though we have 55.3% of forest, which is one of the largest forests in the world, we are still consuming at a rate this very moment, probably not so much in the pandemic, although I'm sure most of you have been ordering online and bringing shopping to the home, we are basically over consuming, and so we are in a deficit. So we're in a Dubai Expo. It's extremely exciting. I think a lot of people will have the comment, well, how is Expo sustainable? This is the first Expo that has required a complete sustainable report card from every pavilion that's built here. And every pavilion is basically showcasing what nationally are their contributions, directions in terms of sustainability. So it's really quite interesting. We've seen things like timber foundations, we've seen things like mud earth construction. We've also seen much larger, I mean, like the Russian, we've actually seen use or recycle plastic for the actual facade of the building. So it's actually been quite interesting to see how every country has responded. And though Malaysia has one of the smallest footprint of a size in terms of plot in the whole of Expo, it has basically made a very small footprint but a large impact in terms of the direction. So in this building, I put here lowering our footprint, the Malaysian Pavilion. The theme for it is energizing sustainability, and that is basically getting sustainability moving. And we know that lowering our footprint is a requirement, and advancing net zero carbon and net zero energy is the way of the future. So what was the concept for the Malaysian Pavilion? The Malaysian Pavilion concept was the rainforest canopy, and the idea was touching the ground lightly, not only in terms of the building, it floats above the ground, but also in terms of its impact that it's made. When we got this site, it was a clear desert piece of land. And when we finish, we will basically we will actually have to restore that back to zero again. So these were some of the ideas that we put into the building, and that is balancing energy systems. We obviously want to reduce fossil fuel, and we put solar panels on the roof. I'm so sorry, but we are actually in the business center, and we actually have quite a lot of delegates that are coming through the Malaysian Pavilion. So just to know that you're live right this moment. We did try actually walking out to see the pavilion live, but the signals are a little bit too weak to do that. The other idea for the pavilion is to showcase to the world that we are actually making efforts for reforestation and restoration. Not sure if most of you know about our 𝐓𝐡𝐞 project. So we have an exhibition internally that talks about reforestation and restoration. We also wanted to head-on face the issues of sustainable plantation, and that every drop of palm oil produced to be certified sustainable by 2020, which not many people know. Not many people know also that we actually supply palm oil for chocolates like Ferrero Rocher. So they are a great source of vitamin E and all the rest of it. But more than that, I think that Malaysia has changed into sustainable plantation for the past 5 years already, and with a lot of benefit to the ecosystem. So what perhaps was our inspiration for the building form? I think you will see later that it's not really very, it doesn't look like a Malaysian house on stilts. But I think taking this idea of building on stilts was the idea of basically letting the ground free, being saved, elevated. These were some of the ideas, and using natural material, as you can see here, perhaps in this kind of construction of Orang Asli, that they basically change their facades after so many years, but they actually make it up by hand, and all these materials are what they find in the forest. And so when we look to build the pavilion, we look to use sustainable timber. One of the reasons is that we needed to build something that was very, very lightweight, but also that when we decommission the building, 75% of the building will be upcycled, which is a part of basically this pavilion sitting here for 6 months. So we wanted to create a pavilion that was set in nature, that explained about our sustainable plantation, explained about our reforestation, and experienced organic forms and spatial experience that gave you this sort of organic feel when you came here. This is a planned view of the pavilion. It's very, very narrow, very long. Probably similar to Milan. When we did the Milan, it was actually seeds, rice seeds. Again, very inspirational in terms of the rice bowl and what Malaysia contributes to the world. And so you will see that some of the ideas here includes the meandering river experience, where you're meandering up as a passage into the pavilion. You can see this walkway as an experience. We have something like 3,800, 4,000 visitors a day. And part of it is this experience of queuing to go in it. And so we have a bioswale reed bed, we have trees on the outside, and the columns that you see on the outside basically are an allegory of the rainforest trees. It actually lights up at night with a sort of lights flickering like the fireflies, and you can see it from a long, long way. So it was very interesting for us when we started on the construction of this. One was that we would be only timber, and actually I think sustainability with construction on sustainable timber, we do see about 4 or 5 pavilions within the expo that actually have used this kind of material, and we really wanted to be proud that we have sustainable timber in Malaysia. And as you can see, the building is like floating pods or pavilions. And so each pod has a different experience as you walk through inside the space. And the idea of touching the ground lightly. Underneath the pavilion, you see these projections of screens underneath, so that it's basically very lively at night. Part of the experience of going into the pavilion. This is it from the side, and we're fortunate we have these poles, because from a long way off we can actually see the flickering light, because we're right at one end of the expo. This is the experience in the cross section of the building. There is a basement where we are in at the moment, and we have actually a sunken gardens on either side. And then up above, we have an amphitheater, the walkway that takes you through the cafe. And then we have the experience, which is a black box experience, running from reforestation to plantation to regrowth and quintessence. You see this huge cube here. And this is the look of the building. This is one of the experiences of the sustainable plantation. The cube on the left is called Quintessence. It's actually a 3-dimensional cube of an experience. And then on the right here are some what we call the light poles. And so what did it mean to us in terms of carbon? We went through the entire process. And I think for me, this is very interesting, only in this way. We had a built-up area of only 1,790. That's about 3 times Falling Waters by Frank Lloyd Wright. That's probably the built-up area of some bungalows in Malaysia. The total embodied energy in constructing, even though it was lightweight construction, steel, marine ply for floors, the timber on external, which is sustainable timber, which has a lower embodied energy, obviously, was still up at about 1,291 tons of CO2e equivalent. The operational energy was quite low, because we managed to put solar on top, about 10%, and in energy efficiency about 26.7%. But all of this tonnage that you see, both embodied and operational, is equivalent to 26,213 trees. So you can imagine that if you were building a shopping center, how many trees you would actually have to grow to balance the O2. Now, we're not planting 26,213 trees, although we would have loved to, and we started out trying to look at ways to do that. We are planting about 500 trees. The rest we are actually doing through the decommissioning of the building in terms of upcycling the material. So the embodied energy basically is being able to be reused later. For the operational component of the carbon, we are also supplied with REC Dewa solar, so that actually covers the entire operation of that is topped up from our energy consumption. So what do you need to do to build something that will have a net zero carbon? Is there are many, many things that you have to look at. You have to look at the building materials. You have to look at any point, looking to use recycled materials where possible. You're also looking, for example, this is only going to last for 6 months, although the UAE has asked whether we would like to gift it UAE and we will run the building for 5 years because the entire site is going to be regenerated into a residential business innovation park altogether. So returning the land to zero is one of those, if we don't basically do that later on. And as you can see, we maximize wherever possible, including an 85% potable water reduction. So it's been a very interesting exercise, and we're really, really honored to have been able to build the pavilion. Though being the smallest plot, I think it will make the biggest impact in terms of our sustainable approach to the building. So that basically is the first net zero carbon for Malaysia. I wanted to take you to 2 other projects that have similar themes, I guess, that has built up to this idea of net zero. This is a project for the Heriot Ward that Alice mentioned before, where she spoke about the building. And when we went into that project, we wanted to show the convergence of nature and technology. So at the time when we did the competition, we said today we design for 10% landscape, which is the typical normal requirement from authorities, provide 10%. But tomorrow's future will need 80% landscape just for us to address heat island effect in our environment, which is already showing a 3 to 5 degree temperature change. And I think ecological urbanism is starting to emerge by necessity. So when we're looking at, we were looking about, well, how much green space do all these cities have? You know, Edinburgh has about 4.6% within its city. Kuala Lumpur, actually, I think this is a little bit incorrect, is about 6.5% green space within the city. I'm not talking about our forest areas and all the rest of it. I'm talking about just the city. Singapore has about 9%, and they have basically moved to designing or calling their city or rebranding themselves as a city in nature. And that's for them, they're moved across to a plot ratio of 1:1. That means whatever land that you take that is you building, you must provide that same amount of green area vertically, horizontally within your building. Putrajaya is lucky, it was designed as a green city, and it has 38% greenery. And so our site is in Putrajaya, which is the capital of Malaysia, and it was just a pure green site. As you can see, the shape of the site was curved with a fantastic view across the lake. It is wonderfully orientated passive design-wise in terms that the longitudinal sides are north-south, which in the tropics is the best, with the east-west being the shorter side because that is the most heat gain that you get. And you know, it's a wonderful site because in its potential for breezeways from the water naturally is there. If you stand there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you naturally feel the change of temperature and the breeze that comes through. That's the site itself. So our concept for this was to put as much green back into the site as we to build. And the 𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐻 campus is 67% green. And the idea for this was, in Malay we call it menimba ilmu. Menimba ilmu is to search for knowledge. And we put the study areas underneath this big canopy roof as hidden treasures or hidden knowledge. And first was the green site. We wanted, the idea is to lift it up completely and create a canopy, and the building sits underneath that, which helps a lot with regards to heat island effect in the surrounding areas. So taking this idea, you will see later on some view and spaces in between to give view corridors to the waterfront. It's also great as a sort of huge green roof that whatever developments of future residential that was going to be behind would be basically looking over a green roof to a lake. So we also thought about that in terms of the future. So a lot of people that's probably seen the building don't realize that the initial idea for the competition is one sweeping curve of a roof. You can actually walk right from the bottom to the top. It is a steady walk on these two sides. You can actually walk up the building, or you can take the lift right up to the top. I think walking down is a bit more scary than walking up. I'm a little bit afraid of heights. So although we have basically very big upstands on the side. These were some of the environmental analysis that we did at the start of the project. And we were talking about essentially looking at putting a helical wind turbine, in order that we actually get the breeze and generate some energy, especially because it's a university and you do want the research and component to be there. That hasn't happened. And what you've seen is constructed is that we did not take the entire curve all the way down. It was really quite a complex roof to build. And that's because it's built in phases. This is phase 1 with 2,000 over students. And right in the center, you see the skylights to bring daylight down, but they're all cross breeze locations here to allow cross ventilation to the circulation area and the covered circulation area for the student and the campus. So this is the look of the building. The basement is for car parking is a semi-basement to allow air movement also through, cross ventilation through. So it reads very, very low. So it reads like a double roof. And on top of that, we have all our MAP services. This building is connected to the cogeneration plant in Putrajaya. So it already has a great reduction in terms of energy in that way, because we're using district cooling for this building. And we didn't put solar panels on this roof. It was purely a green roof, a double roof to cool down the space below the spaces there. And as you can see, the school blocks, teaching labs are basically are like pods, and we get the cross ventilation coming through where the staircase and circulations are, and there's an internal circulation to go into your classes. And these are just some of the sort of diagram studies and the cross section. And what was the passive design elements, what were the integrated design, active design elements, and some other environmental inclusions in this building. So it's a very interesting campus. And it manages to get a 50% reduction of energy and a 53.5% water saved. Also because we're using the surface area to collect water, so there's rainwater collection. The client at the end didn't go for the bioswale at the side. I think sometimes when you start projects, you have a very big wish list. And if we can achieve about 75% of that, or 75, 80%, we really have done quite well. So and here's something that I really didn't notice before, even though I wrote all this information, is that the carbon, operational carbon, is 3,639. So you remember before we talked about the pavilion at 61. So you can just imagine the scale of the building between the two. And lastly, I did speak about this last week. I think this is a sort of research paper for us. I'm interested in densification and the impact on housing. And this is called the Canopy Urban Village. And I wanted to prove that we could build dense housing, affordable housing, but that was still something that was grounded. So it is a research paper that the team at 𝐸 worked on. It was in a competition, not a competition, it was actually an exhibition by Pam. And I show it here because densification has been in the past 10 years. I think when we started in 2010, everyone was talking about, you know, the way we have a low impact is that we continue to have densification of towers. And indeed, Dubai obviously has that, where we have, you know, 40, 50, 60-story buildings. And I was wondering how we could actually design buildings that for housing that was a lot more human in that way. So affordable housing, when I started architectural practice, this was probably one of the first high-rise housing, affordable housing. My grandfather lived in one of them. He lived with 4 children and his wife in one of these. And now we call it micro housing. We say it's good enough for 2, but at the time it was housing for 4. The building materials in terms of how we build, the amount of shading that we have. And a lot of people say, well, you know, they can't afford many things. Well, I don't know if you've been past some of these housing, but you will see all of them with aircon sticking out and satellite dishes sticking out of their housing. But livable vertical cities, the urban housing typology, has evolved in Kuala Lumpur. And most of the time, what we're seeing now in terms of affordable housing is 6 to 8-story car park blocks. This is actually quite low. This one here is a little bit more human-centric, I would say. But nowadays, we're building things at about 6 or 8 stories, and then the housing sits on top. In Singapore, that typology has always been to bring the towers down to the ground and wherever possible, and then to put the parking at the side. But as you know, for Singapore, they have less amount of cars, as Malaysians have, you know, one family would have a minimum of 2 cars. And that's because our mobility within the city is really, really inefficient. We really haven't built enough infrastructure for mobility that people do not have to have as many cars. So in the Singapore model, they build this with facilities, common facilities, and use the roof as garden areas. And of course, they start to put more greenery on the top. This was an experimentation by an international architect where I will turn the tower on its side and basically create housing that was dense but horizontal. And the way we have been building the past 10 years, we started with 14 stories as the housing that you just seen at 78 units per acre. We've moved to 96 units per acre at 34 stories, to 148 units per acre, 32 stories, to 173 units per acre. We're getting denser and denser, you see, per acre, to 190, but we haven't stopped there. We are currently, this is just purely in Penang Island itself, and I think that's symptomatic of islands where land is scarce, that we actually are looking to build higher and higher and denser. And this, I think the tallest is at 49, but the most dense is this one, probably running about 244 units per acre. So how could we humanize affordable housing? I think that's where we were interested in. And so we thought we need to bring the scale closer to the ground. We need to introduce neighborhood pockets vertically, and so that they feel they're in their own kampong or neighborhood. We need to create more community and nature-based spaces, market, bike parking, surau, and other prayer spaces. Shaded streets, marketplace, courtyards within the space, so that the community feel that this is their kampong. And create a tropical responsive roof. And so for this, we designed a large roof where basically we're looking for the future, which is considering urban farming, renewable energy, rainwater harvesting, social neighborhoods and pockets. And so this building manages to get 153 units per acre, which we felt was comfortable. It's only about 11, possibly we could go up to about 12 stories. We could still look out the window and see greenery in terms of treetops or trees. And one of the inspirations for this building was actually Moshi Safdie's Habitat 67, which I'm not sure, you're probably too young to remember the scheme, but coming out of university, well, actually before my time too, before my time, this was a seminal piece of work. It was really not successful when it was completed. It's because it was considered very hard, even though now I would say it's very relevant in a lot of ways. The pixelation of spaces, the individual's pockets of spaces, the non-conformity of form gives you a sense of place. But we wouldn't be able to build this in the tropical environment. We took this idea and the super block of what belongs in Spain, and we said, how could we make it tropically responsive to our climate, people, and natural environment? We tipped it upside down, creating a big umbrella. And in the tropical environment, whether we're building in Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, wherever, whilst heat is quite big here and humidity, it's nothing like the UAE, where it rises up to 45 degrees. It's in fact probably far cooler and livable than somewhere like the Middle East. But we wanted to create shaded streets. The angle of the building is about 15 degrees. 15 to 25 degrees, if you can manage this kind of cantilever, will basically give you a self-shading building on all sides, and then allow you to have courtyard spaces within and pockets. And so we studied about the spatial zoning. We looked at the agriculture, the green pockets, the public way that most public could go through the building and come into a marketplace that was underneath, which may happen at night, pasar malam, be locations for parking your bicycle or motorbike, as most people in affordable housing probably have. And this was the study that we did, creating people, places, and ecology, and getting them to feel that they are still grounded, even though they're in a density of 150 to 180 acres in the site. So there's all the aspects of studying about, I think as architects, we're moving a lot more in terms of creating performative spaces, in the sense that they need to be spaces that people can come out, but also it's responding to the natural environment. and it's doing two things at the same time. It's actually being a social space, but it's also a place where we are probably collecting water, or we're cooling down the space, or all sorts of other things. So the building looks quite low here. These actually it's a little bit of a camouflage. It's every 2 floors is indicated here. This is actually at running about 10 stories. So we did the interior slightly different in terms of the spatial feeling. Is this illusion that is actually shorter than it is, but these are double 2 units stacked on top of the other. But on the outside, as you can see, it's a pixelation, and one of our team members call it pick your pixel. Is because internally we were also looking about the flexibility of housing, where you first start to be a family of 2, and then you have children, and then you grow old, or you have your family live next door to you, and we wanted to have this flexibility within the space. So yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you to Architect Serena. Another remarkable presentation and very impressive on all the 3 projects, especially the current, the pavilions. It's truly make us proud of you, because you are representing Malaysia and as well as female in the industry. So I believe all the audience also agree with me. So I'm pretty impressed by the net zero energy concept, because it's not that easy. It has a lot of challenges, but I'll leave this to the audience for you to think of. If you think you want to raise questions or you want to ask more about it, you can always actually key in your questions through the FB, and we'll pick up the questions from there. So one thing I really love about all the projects, the design concept from Architect Serena's and her company is they always pick up the concept from the nature. If you realize either in the English or in Bahasa, it's always related to the nature. That is very, very interesting. And the concept itself is also related to what Architect Serena's today is based on the nature base. So that is truly one of the very good example to all the architects, whether you are practicing green in your design or you're not. But I think this is truly a base fundamental, because the keyword is restore the balance. You can play with the climates, the nature, inclusive of the nature, natural, instead of fighting against the nature. So the nature actually consists of power and resources to assist in every aspect that we may not even been aware. And I think Architect Serena has shown us a very good example, not just now. I think she has been practicing that for many years. So we really love that. Your job is good. I'm always very excited to, always waiting for what's the next project, and if you're able to present, oh, that's truly remarkable. Yeah. So I was wondering how actually you get all this concept from, you must know a lot of plants.
No. Actually, I'm not doing. I think that the next projects that we will probably do will put a lot more in terms of greenery at a much more closer up level. But no, I think we've taken a fairly big picture approach. But the next level is to go even a bit more deeper into that. So looking forward to doing that. I see we've got a question here. People always think that green building is building greenery. Actually, yes. We have Celcom Tower. There's no green on it at all. It's a triple facade. But in terms of passive orientation, building facade, reduction, it's a technological building that needed to address being green in terms of energy efficiency more so and than anything else. So not all of them. In fact, Telekom Malaysia, which was one of my first projects starting out on that building after coming back from England and working and seeing the Deutsche Bank in Germany, The greenery that you see on that, that was already built to be very energy efficient. This is 20 years ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Actually, in fact, I think whether the architects, he or herself, aware of not the design, I think some of the criteria has been actually adopted into the design. It's just that somehow they may not actually aware, or they do aware, but they didn't just actually to showcase and emphasize on that. So I think this is the time. This is truly a times that when we in the situations of pandemics, and also suffering from all the devastating effects of from the climate change. This has actually, I think, had asked all of us to slow down and to stop, observe, and pay the attention to the nature and think how to appreciate and adapt them into our built environment. So architect Serena has again proven with her capability. It is no less as a female compared with others in this industry. Truly inspiring. So, okay, Architect Serena, thank you again, and please stay on the screen. I'd like to invite the other two of my mentor, great ladies, Architect Datuk Tan Pei Ying and Architect Datuk Nafisa Radin, to join us back on the screen. We will begin our last sessions of today, which is the Q&A session. So ladies and gentlemen, as I said earlier, you can actually type in your questions because you are actually observe and watch this through the FB Live. So you can always type your questions there. We'll pick it up from there and to discuss with all our wonderful ladies around here.
Yeah. But Architect Alice, can I be the first one who asks questions first to the two wonderful ladies here? Yeah. No, I think women
You're wonderful too.
Yeah, no. I mean, women have contributed significantly to champion sustainable development, the SDG and the climate resilient designs and planning. But somehow their involvement tend to be overlooked and underrepresented. So what are your views on this? And what can you suggest, some of the strategies that could be introduced to address this? So maybe Serena and then Datuk Nafisa. Yeah. To start the ball rolling.
I've never thought about gender specifics. I've always seen it as just being competitive in the overall architectural arena, as it were. And so maybe it's just the way we've been practicing, and maybe it's because I come from a family of 3 girls and 2 boys. We are actually more girls than boys, so I don't think we've had this problem with my father as patriarch. The patriarch and the matriarch in the family are equally strong. So I think the challenges are always the same for most people, and that is, to come up with innovative ideas, to be able to produce something really well, that is as much of your expectation of yourself as the produce that you do. So I think that's always been my stand. Yeah, I don't know.
Well said. Yeah. Okay, that's
in my case, I do feel that women have to work twice as hard to be noticed. So, and that's how I still feel. But obviously, once you sort of break the glass ceiling or you've been recognized, then it's the ball game changed. You get more visible easily because you stand out from the crowd. So you do get more. You do get opportunities. So starting out might be more difficult. That's how I feel, or that's what I've gone through.
That's true.
Probably Serena is a lucky one as compared to a lot of us. Right? I'm sure at least you also agree, right? Yeah. We have to work a lot harder to be where we are today. Serena is very lucky. Yeah.
I mean, I work equally as hard as you guys. I mean, I work till 1 or 2 o'clock, all the rest of it. I guess I try not to focus on that. I focus more. I think it's always a challenge. Relevancy is a challenge. being relevant. Also getting your ideas across and selling your idea is also quite is difficult. I'm sure Datuk Nafisa knows that, and paying. And so, yeah, there's always a surprise. And quite often they'll also say, oh, you are anak Encik Hijaz. I mean, I've been practicing for 30 years. And my first building, even though Encik Hijaz mentions Telekom Malaysia, was Telekom Malaysia. The Sky Gardens came from here. So, you know, it's a challenge. I'm not saying that, but because I'm so focused on, just as Nafisa is mentioning, about, you know, getting projects and getting ideas out there. And I think the team is very important. So having a strong team, and we've been fortunate in terms of having you know, a good team of architects that worked with us, and I think Nafisa, you can probably have the same. And they give you the empowerment as well, I think.
Yeah. I think having the conviction and the passions are equally important as well. You know, believe in what you do, and then that drives you. Yeah.
Well, you'll have doubts all the time, all the way through. You will have doubts. Let me just assure you.
Don't worry,
but
Serena.
doubting is good, because doubting make you want to excel better, and it challenge you, and you constantly want to improve yourself because you're doubting yourself. When you're overconfident, that's where you will stifle your progress. I mean, that's my opinion. Yeah.
That's why we're always working twice as hard.
Exactly.
Very high expectation of ourselves.
Yeah. Don't worry, there are people address me wrongly as Mr. as well. When they didn't see me, they hear my voice. So I was wondering, my voice like guys.
You know, when I go for these visits with the minister, you know, overseas to look at to do study, and people don't recognize me as an architect. They always think that I'm, you know, such a Mrs. Minister, you know. They always address me as though I'm the wife, I'm a company person. That's very insulting, you know, a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's true. That happens all the time, you know. So I think it happens no matter
seems
where
like
you
we
are.
have to continue, yes.
Yeah. People cannot see beyond gender. Yeah.
Well, we need to change the mind somehow or rather. And I think you ladies are doing a good job, and we are still doing that. And hopefully in our next generation, they have a different kind of a better enjoyment in this industry. Well, we have
there's
one
a whole
question.
reason why we want this to have a special series to promote, you know, women's
very important.
contribution. Yeah.
I don't know.
People like Alice,
being, you know.
I think we should weave women and men together, and it just, as long as any of the platforms are 50-50, I don't need to call it women or men, but that you will know. And so if you, I'm a little bit, you know, feeling this segregation, that we are highlighting it more. That was a bit of a question for me.
Yeah. No, Serena, we agree that, you know, at the end of the day, we should not have gender separation. But the problem is currently at this point of time, woman representation is so underrepresented. You know, we're not being profiled enough. That's why we talk about equity. We don't talk about equality. At this moment, if you practice equality, the woman can never catch up because we are so underrepresented. So that's why conscious effort needs to be made to profile women's contribution a bit more, to bring them to almost an equal level. It may not be the equal level, but at least at one point we are treated a bit more equally. Then I think the weaving will happen. But currently, they're just so underrepresented. So we need to promote women's contribution a lot more. So this is part of the gender equity policy that we have. Yeah.
Okay, ladies, we have one question by Marcus Teo. The question is, how does actually green building and sustainable development being accepted by our local government? So maybe we start with Serena.
You know, there's a lot happening at the moment in terms of the catch-up. All the states are working on their own 2030 targets. All states, from Perak to, I mean, we have Selangor has already developed theirs. Shah Alam is developing theirs. There's a big push because they also have to meet the low carbon cities framework. and things like that. So at national level, we're seeing quite a big push, which is great. Prime Minister has announced carbon tax, has given a 2050. My opinion on 2050 is it's too late. That's my own personal opinion. But my other opinion is we have to start making it mandatory. We're 10 years too late making it mandatory. And making it mandatory is fantastic because it will give a bigger green growth. It will basically change the way we should be changing the way we live. Basically, we really should. So I'm really I'm excited, as well as trying to push at the sort of Malaysian Green Building Council level, that when we go into this discussion is to show them how easy, or that it is the norm to do that. I think that's the thing. Just get it to them that it's the norm. Yeah.
Actually, eventually, designing for green should be part of our DNA. It's no longer supposed to be an effort. It should be part and parcel of our design DNA.
Yeah. Correct. And Dato' Nafisa, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, we are doing a project with the PDRM. I mean, we notice our clients now, they want to be in it. They want to be associated with propagating green buildings. So that's good. But I'm not sure about other ministries. Yeah.
Okay.
So
we have ASA, MOSTI, I've got them all here.
A lot.
Would you like
ASA,
me?
ASM,
Yes, all of them here.
Okay, we have questions from Farah Afika, and her question is, what do you think of practicing architectures and marital commitments be thrown in the mix? Maybe architect Dato' Payne, you can try to enlighten on this.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question again.
Yeah, the question is, what do you think of the practicing architecture and the marital commitments be thrown in the mix? The question is posed by Farah.
I don't quite understand the questions though.
I think maybe
saying when you
okay, getting married and how it impact on practice.
Yes.
Right? No, getting married does not impact on practice as much as having children. We did quite a lot of survey, not only in Malaysia. It's quite surprising that the survey results are actually very consistent, even in developed countries. You think that Malaysia is worse off than America and worse off than Australia. Actually, it's not true. We have about 22% of our architects, registered architects, being female. But in America, although we all start with about 50% students and 50% male students and female students, but somehow the journey towards licensing, the percentage dropped significantly, especially in America. Only 16% of the licensed architects are actually female. Same thing applies to Australia. Malaysia, we have about 22%. And one of the biggest hurdle, or they call it underrepresentation of practicing women, is because of having children. In overseas, they have less support. When they have children, they do not have the same level of support that we have in Malaysia. Malaysia is easier for us to get married. We rely on our extended family to look after our children. But overseas, a lot of them do not even have the support. So a lot of them drop out from the profession. So getting married is not, it does not have such an impact, but having children somehow has got a much bigger impact, because somehow the traditional role to look after the children falls back onto the female. So this is quite consistent throughout. Yeah.
So Architect Serena, what do you think about this?
I think I agree with Pei. It's really, really tough to put the same amount. Look, I'm still working, and sometimes working till 12 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, my children are about 26, 23 and 26. But if you are bringing them up and you are basically working, I agree, juggling the two was very difficult.
And Dato' Nafisa?
Yeah. Well, in my case, I'm lucky to have my mother to help me with the children, and also maids then. But I think for the current generation, they may not have
Mm.
that luxury. You know,
Yeah.
it's so difficult to get maids now.
Yeah.
But in my case, you know, I mean, in the last few years, I have very good lady architects that's worked with me for 10 years. And they wanted to take a break because they had kids and all that. And I'm very happy, you know, that they want to come back to work, and I'm very receptive of those who are good and who are working with me 3 days a week, and I have cases where they are very productive because. They are very focused. They are well planned. And the 3 days is completely productive. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because at the end of the day, what's important is your output.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and I would love to see women excel. So there might be that period in your you know, in the journey where you might want to take a step back and come in, and I think women should be given that opportunity. Yeah.
I think before the pandemic, a lot of the employers are not very receptive on the concept of working from home. But I think with the pandemic, people are learning to accept working from home. And in that sense, it's actually better for the female staffs because, you know, employers are able to embrace working from home model a lot more. And I think it's good to have more flexible working hours for female architects because they do need to have extra responsibility. So having a flexible structure will actually retain them into the profession rather than losing them. A lot of them left the profession because they didn't have flexible hour, and it's very difficult for them to juggle the responsibility between home and work. Yeah. So hopefully with this pandemic, things will change. Yeah.
Yep, agree. Well, I was thinking that will any of the audience asking this question, but I think yes, there is people are still asking this question. All right, this question is from Bipang, and the question is earlier someone mentioning, I think it was me actually, I was taking over from the first moderator, that mentioned about the gender equity is different from gender equality. There, thanks God you are listening from from just now to now. Good. So can you please discuss and elaborate on the differences? Thank you. So I'll leave it to all our beautiful ladies here. So Dato Pei, you want to enlighten on that?
Remember, every presentation I have on this, I always show a picture, a classic picture. You have a very short guy, you have a medium-sized guy, and a tall guy. They are trying to watch a game over the fence on the football game, right? Equality means you give them the same stool for them to stand on. So the tall guy standing on the same stool will be able to watch a game. But the short guy, even with that stool given to him, he's still unable to watch the game. This is what we call equality. But when you talk about equity, meaning this guy is a lot shorter than the tall guy. So for him to be able to watch and enjoy the same opportunity to watch a game, you need to give them a higher stool for them to stand on. So after standing, then they can all watch the game. This is what we call equity. That's the reason why we are adopting equity for the time being. Until such time, we are all the same height. Then we can talk about equality.
Exactly. I think Architect Serena has pointed out just now that she did mention that it's nothing so much on your male or female, right, Architect Serena? So I think in this field is about that. Beside that people assist you, you too have to actually upgrade yourself. You have to build out your own stool to make it same height to watch the game, right? So you can see from Architect Serena, Datuk Nafisa, even our Datuk Pei, they work very, very hard, really depending on themselves. Beside them, other people trying to help you. That is bonus to me. So we have to work extremely hard. Work until
Actually, the other thing I want to say also, there's nothing. In this world, nothing is equal. Nothing is being fair. This is very unfair. But even female, you're born in a rich family, you're born from a poor family, you're really not equal, right?
Yeah.
Even the man also the same thing, right? So end of the day is what you make for yourself. You may be disadvantaged, but you have to upgrade yourself consciously and make a lot of effort to upgrade yourself, to bring yourself to the same level. So it depends on you. But the world is not an equal playing field at all levels anyway. So rather than groaning and complaining about it, do something about it. Right?
Yep.
We have one audience named Lightek Hub, and he's pretty actually interested about the pavilions and my pavilion by architect Serena. And the most interesting questions is always the most popular questions and frequent questions. What's the cost to build? Right?
Is it confidential?
So architect, yeah, Serena, you have to unmute yourself.
I cannot tell you the price. Only to say that it was cheaper than the Milan one. It's cheaper than the Milan one. It depends on where you build. So it's unfortunately it's confidential. I mean, you'll have to ask Malaysian Green Tech, but it was cheaper than the one in Milan for different reasons. I think location, cost of construction. So yeah, but I am silent on this. Only to tell you that I think that Malaysia spent far less than any other country in the whole of this UAE. And that in itself is a feat. And certainly less than Singapore. But that's a very interesting pavilion. So you can go online and you can pick a country and you go to Expo 2020 and type the name of the country, and they usually have their own Insta site. And some of them post how it's been made. Some post different information. Like I went to see Morocco, which was on Ram Earth, and they talked about how they made Ram Earth. It's 7 stories high, Morocco.
Oh.
Saudi is it's huge. It's got the largest escalator experience to go up. I haven't been. So, you can start in Finland, which is very small, very sweet, and you can go as large as whatever. Yeah.
So Serena, you mentioned just now that all these buildings will stay there and be converted into residential?
They won't be converted in residential. They become an innovation center, but there's residential that's going to be built around this area.
Okay.
So they're looking at the longevity. I mean, certain ones you have an option of whether you want to gift it back. The land is gifted to each country. Then you have to build at your own cost of construction. And then after that is whether you want to gift it back to UAE, where they will maintain the building for 5 years or whatever length of time.
Yeah.
So that's one idea. The other one is we totally demolish and we upcycle, the materials. So that is another. That was the initial, but the second has come in as that.
Yeah.
But it's still extremely hot. So if you're thinking to come, please think about November, December time.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going in November, somewhere mid-November. Yeah.
Okay, middle.
Looking forward. Yeah. And one more question is, UIA has adopted year 2020 as the year of design for health, and I always maintain that architects are also doctors of the environment. It's our duty to actually design to ensure we provide a healthy environment for the people who live and use our space. And that's why this year's the team is also talking about a clean environment for a healthy world. So what do you think? Do you think that architects are actually environmental doctors?
I don't know if doctor is a very big word.
Yeah, promote health.
I think health and well-being is definitely psychological as well as, there's the psychological, there's the mental. So I think health and well-being, yes, we do play a part in what we create in terms of giving a sense of health and well-being. Whether the space feels nice, whether this space feels very hard, or so what we create. That's why we sort of say, we really like looking at Vietnamese architects and Thai architects when they're doing all this bamboo work and all the rest of it, because there's a sense of softness and a sense of temporariness that equates to that naturalistic way, and therefore it's a sort of health and well-being. But I think you can create that. I mean, there are ways of bringing health and well-being into the building, and I think this definitely is going to be very important in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no
And Dato'
more
Nafisa?
malls and office. Yeah, I don't think we'll have any more malls and offices or even hotels.
Hey, you'll be surprised, everybody yearn to go back to shopping mall. Last weekend I was in Pavilion, it's packed with people. People are so detached, and they just crave to to go out.
I
That's
think that
interesting.
I believe people you'll be surprised that a lot of people are going to the parks, and the gardens and all this outdoor. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I still like to shop also.
From what Dato' Nafisa said, it actually I come across with one question to all of you. Also, the last question for this session. Well, yes, I think the pandemic taught us about the fragilities of the whole entire supply chain and the needs of resilience and what more the drastic climate change has brought to us and still going on. And I want to ask three of you, in your opinion, what kind of process or what process changes must be or should be prioritized in the architecture design? The sequence, the conventional, how we work through the entire process, that's before pandemics. But I think from what Dato' Nafisa said, well, maybe you have no offices, or maybe you will have office, or something will be changed, I don't know. So each of you, maybe you have one, just give me one of your thinking, your view, that what process you think, what kind of process or any process will be changed or should be prioritized in our architecture design. So I'll begin maybe with Dato' Nafisa. You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to take into account, that with the pandemic, there's some SOPs, I mean, how you do interior layouts and so forth because we don't know how long this pandemic is going to stay, so maybe the standards of how many people, office standards, like which we normally I mean, we normally use as our standards, it might be now bigger, previously we can go on compact layout. So I think in terms of planning, layouts, people will look into that aspect, and also about how you ensure that the environment of the office is conducive. Yeah.
And
I mean,
Architect Serena? Yeah, P, you want to say? Yeah.
No, I'm saying that definitely the way forward will definitely change the way we design and also plan our city, our personal spaces, office spaces, and even public spaces. And going forward, when you realize that the impact of the pandemic, the way that we use public spaces are quite different now. So definitely we have to look at intervention in the way that we design. Directions will change. That's why I mean, like UIA, Arcasia, they were looking at a special guideline that came out to actually relook at how you should plan even all these spaces again. And there's also a proposal that when we reinvent our design, we should also look at inclusivity to cater for people from all walks of life. Because a lot of the design that we have done in the past have not taken all this into consideration. When the pandemic hits you, the person who are most vulnerable are the children, the older ones, and also, of course, female. So they are really badly affected as compared to the male counterparts. So in terms of the new way forward, you really have to look at more inclusive design. It should be part and parcel of our design DNA. We should not talk about complying with universal design anymore. All this universal design concept needs to be
Throw it
part
out
and
of the
parcel
window.
of our it should be integrated as part and parcel of our design DNA, not a compliance
Exactly.
issue, but it's a conscious effort.
Yeah, exactly. And Architect Serena, your view?
So you're talking, paying about intergenerational, inter capability, sort of in terms of how you approach design.
The design approach will need to change. You need to have very conscious effort to ensure whatever you design, it caters for everybody.
Yeah, I think Dato' Peng mentioned about a keyword is inclusiveness. Yeah,
Yeah.
that she mentioned that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I probably think that every building that you start on now is to think of it as a land form landscape as the start of the building,
Yes.
because we're looking to have more outdoor spaces, a lot more break up spaces that people can have quiet spaces, or whether it's public or private, all the rest of it. I'm feeling that the buildings takes on what I call a landform landscape approach to design. Yeah, throughout, what we're rethinking about how we do our hospitals, and where we sort of see some natures, but it's almost like it's not saying it's a hospital. It's actually a community place where medicine is done, sort of thing. So when we start to think of it in that way, we don't create depressing places where it's like, this is a hospital, it has to function this way and all the rest of it. It's a community health center, So and then when we start to think of that, we will actually imagine a different kind of space.
I think Singapore has done very well in that aspects. If you go to the Singapore hospital, they really design the whole environment that it doesn't look sterile like a hospital. It looks very welcoming.
You're not going to die, you're going for wellness. So you might die, but you won't get you might die, but you might accept it as just the path of life, rather than oh my God, I'm going to suffer, really suffer, and all the rest of it. So I think taking that out, and then it goes to housing as well, I think. But that's the point.
Yeah,
Right.
great
Die in
answer.
comfort,
Yeah.
Die in comfort.
Great answer, great ideas as well. I think, well, ladies, we had to end these sessions. We had a little bit time. So thank you so much to all our speakers and also our Dato' Peng here. Well, I can conclude that with the leadership of women, it is proven it isn't just good for the planet, but it's also good for the business too. So just look at our Dato' Architect Tan Peng, our Dato' Architect Nafisa Radin, as well as Architect Serena Hijas. They are not just beautiful, confident, smart, and wise, but they are also passionate and believe in what they can actually do and keep on actually inspiring all of us in this industry. So we know that we can't design for all such unpredictable events, but we could always make sure our buildings and cities are better and able to weather these disruptions and bounce back afterward. So we need more resilient design, not the fashionable words, and but of course out of necessity of a long-term survival. So with that, time seems fly when we are deeply engaged into something very interesting and exciting. Yeah, and I believe we have more sessions like that in the coming future. So we reached the end of today's online talk, and I would like to express my million thank you to all our speakers and also the chairmen of PAM Gender Equity Committee, Dato' Peng, for their interesting sharing insight as well as their opinions, their views, and all this. So thank you so much again, and thank you to all the audience and participants again. Do have a great day ahead and stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon. So bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Alice, for being a great
Thank you,
moderator.
Alice, Nafisa, and Peng.
Bye.
You
Thank you
ladies
so
are
much.
wonderful.
See you back in
Bye.
KL, Serena.
Okay. See you, Nafisa, soon.
And
Yeah.
one smile for my camera.
Okay.
Please.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Bye. Bye.